Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend I won't follow his family's tradition for naming our child? Original post, me, 21F, and my boyfriend, let's call him Alex, 23M, have been dating for about 3 years now. We've recently begun talking about marriage and kids, something we both eventually want to have. The other day a reel popped up on my FYP of cute boy names and I saw the name Everett. I thought it was adorable and jokingly told him how it has to be our firstborn's name. He laughed and said he liked it but it'll have to wait for the second kid. I was confused and asked him why. He told me that his family has a tradition that every firstborn boy in the family has the same name. His oldest brother has it, his uncle has it, his grandfather has it and so on. For the sake of privacy and how oddly unique the name is, I'm not going to say it. I'm not judging in the slightest, but this is a weird name and it's honestly not my favorite. I would never say that to any of his family members, but I did tell Alex I'm not a huge fan of it. I told him I don't really want to follow those footsteps and he got upset and told me he can't be the one to break the tradition. He told me I was being an asshole for suggesting anything else. I told him I won't change my mind and we should make it a middle name or find another compromise. Alex has 5 siblings. The tradition will continue if he doesn't do it. And frankly, I think I should get a say in what I name my kid. I told him since I'm the one carrying the hypothetical child for 9 months and it would already be getting Alex's last name, I should have some say in the first name. For context, I have 2 siblings, both girls. I'm the youngest and my eldest sisters are both married and took their husbands' last names. It makes me a little sad that when I marry Alex, my last name will go out of existence. I've talked to him about hyphenating ours, something he doesn't want to do. But anyways, I really don't want to name our firstborn son, if we ever even have a boy, that name. He thinks I'm whining for no reason. Since we don't even have a kid yet and I'm not pregnant? But I think my concerns are valid. I've told some friends about it and most of them think I'm overreacting over something that doesn't even exist yet. So am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend I don't want to follow his family's tradition? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, great conversation to have before marriage and kids. You get to decide if this is a deal breaker for you. What other subjects does he believe you have no say in? OOP, downvoted. The thing is, we get along great. We've had minor disagreements, but never argued over anything this big until now. For all the people saying break up, he's really a great guy. He thinks my last name is weird, which to be quite honest, it is LOL. It doesn't make me any less sad about eventually losing it. This is our first big argument and I think it's why I'm at such a loss. Commenter, and not even his own name, his big brother's name. Is every kid meant to name their first son that name? All the cousins are Gustavo or whatever? OP, all oldest sons are supposed to have it. His dad wasn't the oldest son. So yes, a bunch of his nephews will all hold the same name at some point. Commenter, in reply to previous commenter listed above. That's what I wondered too. I feel like he doesn't even understand his own tradition. I think it's just one per generation, not every firstborn to every sibling. OP, that's what I thought too until I met him. It's not a cultural thing. I've politely asked. If it was, I'd be a lot more understanding. It's just an odd tradition. Commenter. My question is if all his siblings follow this tradition, won't there be like 4, 5 kids with the same name in the same family within the same age range? That would already have me saying no. Can you imagine going to a family get-together and trying to call for your son and his 4 other cousins to also come running because they have the same name? No thank you. NTAOOP, yes, there would. And I've pointed that out and he's admitted to me that sometimes it was annoying on family camping trips when he'd yell his cousin's name and 3 others would turn around. Which confuses me because why would he want to continue that? Answers to various questions. We've talked about at least 2 kids close in age later in life. Right now we live pretty close to his family. My family lives on the other side of the country. I've expressed moving closer to my family when I finish nursing school, something he hasn't expressed disinterest in. His family is very religious while I'm not. Alex isn't really either, and he's moved away as he's gotten older. Commenter, it's a tradition in your and most family that the kids have a unique name chosen by their parents. LOL, why would his tradition be more important? Why would he unilaterally choose a name? Also, if you want you can keep your last name, OOP, downvoted. I know that, but he finds the idea of me eventually taking his romance and I do too. It's complicated and maybe I do sound like I'm whining for no reason, LOL. I like his last name plenty, it's just the idea of mine twinkling out of existence makes me a little sad. And if none of my kids could take it, it wouldn't matter that I kept it. It would still be gone one day. Commenter. The issue isn't the name, the issue is your BF's attitude toward you having ideas that differ from his. He dismisses your wants, and puts his family's tradition ahead of you. To him, it's not even a discussion. That's actually a little scary. You give 2 examples of him being inflexible, your last name and a baby name. I'll bet you can think of other incidents that fit this pattern too. This is a glimpse into your future. Are you sure you want the rest of your life to look like this? OP, we don't argue really at all, but we've had one big argument in our relationship and he's already ignoring me too. He's been sleeping in the guest room and won't talk to me when I try to sit down. An hour before I posted this, he texted me saying he needed space and that was it. I didn't want to lose him and I didn't know where else to go, so I came here. I just want to thank you all for your comments and support. I didn't know I could get this much advice and I'm beyond grateful for it. It's given me a lot to think about. Mini update in comments. 14 hours later. I have no idea how to make an update, but I feel like I owe it to you all to make one when the time comes, so please let me know how. LOL. As of right now, I just texted him and told him that when he gets home from work we need to have a serious conversation and I have some important things to tell him. Not totally sure what those are yet, but I'm going to find a way to start the convo. Update post, November 10th, 2024, 2 days from OG post. So, we talked. I pulled him aside after he finished work and we sat down and had a long conversation. I told him that I felt hurt that he doesn't seem to be caring about my feelings and I never intended for a joke about TikTok names to turn into all of this. I took your guys' advice and was really honest with telling him how I was really sad about the fact that I would lose my last name when we did eventually get married. At first he seemed confused and said if it really mattered that much to me, I could just keep my last name and our kids could have his. I told him it seemed counterproductive to keep my last name because one day I'd still die and so would the name. He asked me what I wanted to do about it and we ended up compromising that our first son would have a shortened version of the traditional name that runs in his family. Not a nickname, but we would literally just shorten the name and that would be his. And along with that, when we eventually do get married, we'll hyphenate last names. I will admit Reddit got me a little in my head and had me thinking we would break up over this, so I was pretty emotional during this conversation. LOL. I know this isn't the super exciting update you guys wanted. I also showed him the post and he read some of the comments. This is a direct quote from him, something he wanted me to tell you guys. Thank you for helping my name, while I was being a dick. I don't really think he was being a dick now that I've seen his side, but he's also worried he has people after him now. LOL. He really is a sweet guy and this wasn't anything to break up over. When we talked he expressed that he was hurt because as much as the tradition seemed silly, it was something he had always been looking forward to eventually doing. We're not engaged yet, but I have a feeling something might happen this Christmas. We'll see. But yeah, I cannot believe how much that post blew up and you guys really helped me and Alex out. Thank you all for the support. Top comments. Miss Fear? I'm personally happy when I see an update with no drama. I'm glad you were able to discuss it and compromise. It's a good sign for your relationship. External_expert_2069. If he was uncompromising, I think it would totally be breakup worthy. Fortunately, it ended up completely different and that's awesome. You both listened to each other and came up with a plan. As long as he doesn't call you an asshole and a whiner moving forward, this is solid. Efrendel, so, you're telling me that you two sat down, had a mature conversation, and worked out your differences? Well damn. Overall_search_3207. Overall good update and I agree that Reddit is big on the instant breakup reaction. However, I do think this should serve as a wake-up call to him that it's time to grow up and really understand the position y'all are in. If you are looking to get married, he has to realize that you are becoming adults and he should act like one. When my wife expresses a concern, especially about children, that concern is as important if not more to me than any concern I have. I am sure he can grow and realize it, but better sooner rather than later. Fiancé proposes with a $38 Temu ring, now I'm wondering if I should marry him. Am I the asshole for wanting a better ring and questioning our future? Original post. My 27F fiancé, 29M, proposed to me a few weeks ago. It caught me completely by surprise, but we've been together for 3 years and things have been going great. So I was really excited and said yes. I really liked the ring when I first saw it and my friends and family all think it is stunning. It's an oval cut with diamonds across the band. I asked where he got it and he wouldn't tell me where, but that he got a great deal on it. I didn't think anything of it until yesterday when we were in bed and I asked him if it was diamond or moissanite, mainly out of curiosity. I don't have a preference BTW. He said he didn't know and would have to look it up. When I glanced over at his phone, he was in the Temu app. I asked him if he got it from there and he didn't respond. So I asked again and he responded with something like, "Does it matter?" and left the room and ended up sleeping on the couch. I spent all night so confused. Today I decided to download the app and look up my ring and I found one that looks identical. I found the exact ring and it listed at $38. I am mad. He makes good money, $200K/YR, and I feel like he could have shelled out some money for a ring better than one on Temu. Aita for telling him I don't want it? OOP's comments. OOP's thoughts. Okay, I'm not mad that the diamonds are not real. But I worry about the quality of the ring because I imagine my engagement ring to at least be sturdy. It's fine for now, but I have a hard time believing it'll last longer than a year if it's $38 on Temu. Commenter. NTABC, that thing might turn your finger green. He's lucky you don't have a sensitivity to fake metals like some do. He makes good money but bought a $38 ring. Is he cheap with other things where this discount shopping isn't a new thing for him and he's just an all-around penny pincher? My first thought was, did he not spend the money because he doesn't want to expect this to last? OOP. Yeah, let me provide some more context. Really, he's never been overly frugal. I'm probably more frugal than he is. Neither of us are huge spenders, but we each make enough to not have to strictly budget or anything. We have our own accounts and split rent equally. I know he has at least $100K across his savings investment accounts. We go out for drinks a few times a week and we'll go to concerts together and whatnot frequently. We travel a few times a year and stay in basic accommodations. Like our DoorDash the other night was $40. My ring costs less than DoorDashing dinner. Commenter. You are NTA, but what we all really want to know is whether or not you would still marry him if he replaces the ring. OOP. The responses to this have made me even more confused. People saying it could be a loyalty test, that he doesn't want me to be able to sell it if we divorce, or that he doesn't plan to be with me for long. I have a pit in my stomach. I haven't considered breaking things off, but that was before I wrote this here. I was thinking maybe he was just not thinking or rushed getting the ring, or maybe he genuinely thought he was getting a great deal on a high-quality ring. I'm not sure at this point. I plan to confront him when he gets back from work in a couple hours. The ring itself. The response to this is just absolutely insane. Sorry, I'm having a hard time keeping up with responses. A few of y'all want to see the ring, so here it is if you want to look it up. I'm still waiting for him to get home. Seller, LVZ Gem. 1 CT moissanite ring, women's wedding band suitable for banquet party official occasion, holiday Valentine's Day proposal. Engagement wedding gift anniversary. Gift birthday gift with certificate. I guess it technically is moissanite? Update post. After reading responses from my first post on the AITA subreddit, it got taken down. I was freaking out a bit. He came home while I was FaceTiming a friend about this. I hung up with her and then talked to him for an hour or so. He apologized for sleeping on the couch and that he needed time to think. He doesn't see eye to eye with me on my concerns about the ring and says he did research and that it was highly rated. He says if the ring breaks he will replace it, but didn't say it'd be higher quality. I have people messaging me that the ring could be harmful to my health and that Temu has horrible standards for their jewelry and labor issues, so now I really don't want to wear it. He left and went to his brother's house. Usually I'd go with him, but things are just tense. Aita for telling him I still don't want it. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. Kind of tough, because had you not found out it was from Temu, would you be upset? OOP. TBH. If I hadn't found out it was from Temu, I probably wouldn't be upset. But when it inevitably breaks or tarnishes, the truth would come out. Now that I know, it has completely changed how I feel about the ring, even if it aesthetically doesn't look too bad. Commenter. Did this come as a shock, or is he normally cheap and thoughtless? OOP. He's not normally cheap or thoughtless. He's genuinely a great guy, which is making this harder to navigate. He started making me feel really guilty and materialistic today when we talked about this, and I can see his point of view, but I'm just confused. It feels like Temu is at the bottom of the barrel. I'd be happy with a cheap, decent quality ring from Etsy or anywhere else. I don't really care about the price itself, it's more about the quality and feeling like he doesn't really value me the way I thought he did. OOP addresses several commenters asking if he thinks she is a gold digger. This was her most comprehensive response. I want to clear up these gold digger rumors because this isn't only about the cost of the ring. I only mention these things for context, not because I feel he owes me something in return. When I met him, I was making just over 100K, and he was working part-time and doing an internship bringing in significantly less than me. He totaled his car early on in our relationship, and I happily drove him to his work every morning on the way to my work when he didn't have a car. When his mom got sick and went on hospice, I immediately canceled all of my travel plans and holiday plans with my family and sat with him visiting her every day for months. I helped with funeral arrangements. I helped plan his brother's wedding. I even loaned him money for a new car once he started his new job. He did pay me back BTW. He moved in with me recently and most everything in the home is mine that I paid for prior to the relationship, furniture, etc. I have paid for so many plane tickets for our travels, concert tickets, etc. that I've never asked him to pay back and never will. That's what a relationship is. I genuinely care for him. He has done similar gestures for me and is more than willing to spend money on dates. Believe it or not, I'm not this greedy woman sitting here excited to get his money. I have my own. Have they ever been ring shopping? We never went ring shopping. The proposal was a surprise to me. We'd casually discussed getting married in the future for the past year or so, but he never asked about my taste in rings, so I was kinda thinking that it happened before the engagement. I actually like the style of the ring, but now that I know it's from Temu, I can't look at it the same way. Mini update. I'm literally just sitting here refreshing your comments trying to figure out what to do next. He texted to let me know the plans of staying at his brother's for the weekend and is taking Friday off. It's not crazy abnormal since he's been watching football over there, but I feel like he's avoiding me now. I'm trying not to be pushy about the situation and I'll give him some space, but now I'm just in my head about all of it and regretting my initial reaction. It's just a dumb ring and maybe I've read into it too much. The only other time we've had an argument like this, it was resolved within a couple hours, so I'm not used to this behavior from him. Update 2. Update. He came home this morning while I was in a WFH meeting. These comments made my head spin all night. I got like 3 hours of sleep, so I admit I may be in the wrong for bringing up his finances, but I did. The gold digger rumors. When we met I was making more than him and often paying for his things. His high-paying job is a recent development. I have my own money and don't need it. I asked him what was going on, if there was anything he needed to tell me, if he was testing me by doing this. Well, that really set him off. What kind of person do you think I am? You think I'm a cheapskate, a liar? You obviously think really poorly of me. But still he never gave me a reason. So I asked why he was deflecting every question to victimize himself and to avoid my questions. He tried to leave again. So I tried de-escalating and told him I see where he's coming from, but I need to know if he still loves me. He was immediately apologetic and still wants to get married. He said I can just pick my ring out and buy it with my own money. He said he's sick of talking about this and it's water under the bridge now. He's acting like his normal self again since this convo. I hear him out there skipping around and humming to himself all happily and it's actually pissing me off. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but I don't think I can handle a marriage with someone like this. $10K and boyfriend wanted a car, but after a big fight, I spent it all. Now he's angrier than ever, and I don't know how to confess. Original post. He's a full-time student who works part-time in the summer. I have a full-time and part-time job. He studies a lot. We live together and mostly live off my pay while he stretches what he makes in the summer. Neither of us have ever owned a car because it isn't necessary where we live. We both walk or take the public everywhere to save money. In the morning we stop at a corner shop shortly before splitting up for the day. He buys cigarettes and coffee. I buy fruit for my lunch and, on the weekends, lotto tickets. He always makes fun of me for paying the stupid tax. But I figure my indulgence is cheaper and doesn't come with lung cancer. Sometimes I jokingly tell him not to expect a penny when I win. The day I won he answered me with fine, keep it all. It's not like I'm crying over a penny of nothing over here. I showed him I'd won. He stared for a bit and then dismissively told me I'd probably spent more than that on tickets. In response I asked what I should blow his half on for myself. I was honestly joking at the time, but he suddenly became angrier than I've ever seen him and I didn't want to admit I'd been kidding because he was so pissed off it pissed me off. He wants a car, and I don't. He keeps trying to steamroller me, so I'm refusing to share the money. In honesty, I'm willing to spend or save the money for us, but I don't want a car. I won't use a car and it will keep costing us money in parking and maintenance. After weeks of him sulking and lecturing me about his entitlement to the money, he took me to a car lot and tried to embarrass me into going along with him in front of a salesman. I threw a tantrum after we left without buying anything, and I went to my mom's and paid our rent up to the end of the year and donated the rest to charity. He doesn't know. I fucked up and don't know how to come clean. Teal doctor, I haven't told my boyfriend I spent the money I won because I was upset he was being a dick. He's already angry at me. What should I do? Top comments. Comment 1. I fucked up and don't know how to come clean. I don't think you fucked up at all. Comment 2. Me neither. You spent your money buying the tickets, it's technically you're winning money. It's not like you're married, that'd be a little different. He's just mad that he didn't support your buying the tickets in the first place, so now he looks entitled. I think you spent the money very wisely. Plus now he doesn't have to worry about rent. He better not complain. Comment 3. Agree. The only way this would be a fuck up is if OP has a tax bill coming due to the winning with no funds, anymore, to pay it. OP. No. I rounded down to $10,000 because I was counting after tax and a celebratory dinner. Comment 4. All in all, OP, you sound like a very level-headed person. Your boyfriend, on the other hand, sounds like a huge jerk. Why are you with someone who treats you like that? Comment 5. You paid up rent for both of you, or just yourself? OP. It's my place from before dating him. I never ask him for rent because it cost me the same either way. Comment 6. Just to be clear, he's living rent-free and you share finances, meaning you pay for everything unless his part-time job gives him enough hours. And he's demanding more money from you? Comment 7. I think you should seriously consider everyone's responses. Your boyfriend does not sound like he's respectful or appreciative of the effort you put into your relationship. That said, do you mean that your dad gave you money when you turned 18 so you could get yourself out of an abusive situation if you had to? Because that's the first I've heard of a parent doing that. But it's seriously an awesome idea. I know a few women who keep saving specifically because they want to have insurance in case of a bad situation, but never a parent initiates that sort of savings. If I ever have children, I'm totally stealing that idea. OOP, yeah, my dad sat me down and gave me the grown-up talk about verbal and physical abuse and consent. How to recognize it, what to do, how not to be abusive. Then he gave me the money and explained how to use it. He did this for all his kids, boy or girl. Update. Long story short, a couple months before I won, my boyfriend had secretly dropped out of school to join a Christian rock band. He's not Christian, and began to cover his new coke habit, which explains so much. He took me winning as a sign they were about to make it and should go on tour. That's why he wanted the car so damn much. Obviously we had a huge fight. I sacrificed a lot because he told me he'd never be happy without that degree, and he threw it away to play rockstar while I ground myself down at dead-end jobs. I told him I agreed to support him through one dream, and if he was done with it I was going after my dreams now. He made all kinds of promises to me about how he'll take care of me when he gets famous, but I told him the only promises I cared about were the ones he made when I agreed to help him through school. He broke up with me until I came to your senses. As far as I'm concerned, that's already happened, so I had his brother pick up his stuff. He tried to cause problems with me illegally evicting him, but I reminded him I had some text conversations where he said, "Your apartment is your problem, and I don't live there anymore, so deal with it." I have no idea if that's legally enforceable, but neither does he. My lease is up in 3 months and I won't have to worry about it after that. It's been really rough accepting he's not the guy I fell in love with anymore, but the way he's been acting has made it a lot easier. I'm mostly angry I sunk so much of my time and money and compromised my future for him. But I guess it's better I found out now instead of later. I got tested in case he cheated or was doing other drugs, and so far so good. I'm also 9,000% sure my ex staged the 3 break-ins we had in our apartment after one of his friends told me around that time my then BF was trying to sell my prescriptions and his laptop, that I ended up replacing FFS, that were supposedly stolen. I told the cops and his friend agreed to make a statement, but IDK what's happening with that yet. Other than that, I'm happy to report I'm only working one job now that's actually something I want to do and pays way more. My apartment is much nicer without his junk, and now the toilet is never unflushed and the seat is always down, so I've got that going for me too. With all my free time I've rescued a kitty and I'm learning to knit. I was planning on becoming an old cat lady, but I also went on my second first date ever. It was with another woman, which was kind of a surprise but also somehow not. We've got a second date planned and I'm incredibly giddy with anticipation, which is really nice. Oh, and I told my dad how much you liked his dump him fun consent conversation, and he said his grandma gave him one when he decided to get married at 18, not my mom, so he can't take credit for the idea. Edit. Thanks for all the well wishes everyone. TL.dr, boyfriend dumped me, can't complain. Top comments. Comment 1. Sorry he turned out to be such a heel. Getting dumped is never fun, but a bullet was definitely dodged here. My apartment is much nicer without his junk, and now the toilet is never unflushed and the seat is always down, so I've got that going for me. Which is nice. Comment 2. Being dumped is never fun, but I think in OP's case, it's the best thing that could have happened to her, lol. And can't forget, with all my free time I've rescued a kitty, yay to rescue animals. Comment 3, entitled a coke addict, a thief, etc. etc. What a complete pile of human garbage. Congratulations on getting rid of him. Enjoy doing you, OP. Comment 4, LOL, and wanted to be in a Christian rock band, hilarious when you consider all of those factors together. Comment 5, the toilet is never unflushed. The fuck? Did he not flush? OOP, not usually, which made it so much more lovelier that time I forgot to check the seat and fell in. Comment 6. Yay kitty cat. Also, while this all really sucked for you to live through, I am sure that it will be the most delightful of anecdotes. Dropped out of school to join a Christian rock band is just about the dumbest life plan I can think of, especially given the general state of the music industry as a whole and of Christian rock in particular. OOP. It's very unlike him. I thought he was messing with me until he showed me the videos. Not good. IDK, if coke explains all of what's going on, there may be other drugs I don't know about. He's not the same as when we met, I know that much. I posted an update to RR's relationships after asking for advice, and someone recommended I make sure I can't get in legal trouble over the situation. I live in CA and have had my apartment for 4 years. My ex lived with me for 3 years. He never paid rent or was on the lease. My landlord knew he was there and he got mail there. My lease is up in 3 months and I'm planning on moving. He left willingly, and when I texted him about some damage he'd done to the building that he'd promised our landlord he'd fix, he sent me 2 texts that I kept copies of saying, "Your apartment is your problem and I don't live there anymore, so deal with it." He sent his brother to my place to pick up some music equipment, and I had his brother take all his stuff with him. My ex texted me angrily about how I couldn't just illegally evict him, but backed off when I sent him screenshots of the texts. Also, the police are currently investigating him for 3 break-ins to my apartment when he lived there, based on one of his friends making a statement that he tried to sell him my prescriptions and his laptop around that time. I don't know if that's relevant. Could he cause me any legal problems? Mom calls me selfish over a phone gift incident from my teenage years. Am I the asshole or is she? Original post, I, 28F, was visiting my mom this weekend and I turned a video on while we crafted Smosh's new Reddit video. One of the first videos they cover is on the story of a mother losing her daughter's Louis Vuitton bag. We listened to it and I said it sounded similar to the phone incident when I was younger. My mom got really defensive, said that I was selfish as a teenager and I'm acting selfish now. We argued for a bit and she said, "I wonder what Reddit would think of our story." So I decided to find out. For my 15th birthday, my grandpa sent me a new smartphone in the mail. I was incredibly excited about it and my mom was really upset. She said that it was inappropriate for me to have a more upgraded phone than she did. He sent me the newer version of the phone she had, and that there was no way she was going to let me have the phone. So, instead of transferring my SIM card to my new phone, she went and transferred hers to the new phone and mine to her phone. Her argument was that I still had a newer phone than my previous one, so I should be grateful. But given the new smartphone had been a gift, I was really upset and called my grandpa, her dad, to complain. He then called her and chewed her out for it, which made her yell at me for involving him. She said again there was no reason for me to have such an upgraded phone when I only used it to talk to my friends and she used her phone for work. Our argument went on for over a week before I just dropped it, but I was bitter for a long time. She continued to bring up how unbelievably selfish I had acted and that she was disappointed to have raised such a selfish daughter. Every once in a while, especially at family gatherings, this story will be brought up by someone and the argument starts all over. My brother, 17 at the time, and my dad stayed neutral on it, and my grandpa was pissed but lived in another country and couldn't do much but call my mom like he did. That's the story. My mom called me selfish again when I brought it up and said that my continued bitterness towards this event just goes to show how ungrateful and entitled that I am. No matter how many times I tell her that what she did was pretty messed up. So who is the AH? Edit. The intention was always to show the verdict of this post to my mom, since it was her idea to see what Reddit would think. I texted her and asked her if there was anything she'd like to add before I forwarded the post to her and just got this back. As I have said, it was not appropriate for a girl of your age to have a more capable smartphone if you weren't going to use it for anything other than texting your friends. Your grandpa did not ask me before sending the phone to you. I told you that you could not have the phone and you continued to ask for it, so I gave you my old one as a compromise, which was a newer and nicer phone than the one you had, and you still continued to ask for the newer one even after I said no. I maintain that your behavior was that of a selfish teenager, and I think any moms on Reddit will agree with me. Hopefully your post puts an end to this argument. I will add that she said this weekend, this was before Instagram. What would you have used the phone for? The new phone in question was a Samsung Galaxy 2. My mom had the Samsung Galaxy 1 and I had a Nokia slider phone before my grandpa sent me the new one. Edit 2. I am going to take screenshots of this post and send them to my mom after work. We'll try to update when I can. I don't expect she'll be happy, but I agree with her that hopefully we can stop bringing this up. Aita has no consensus bot. OOP was voted NTA relevant comments. Commenter 1, your mom told you to take this to Reddit. She needs to browse more. People here generally don't like bullies. OOP, she likes it when I put on the Reddit videos when we hang out, but has otherwise never explored Reddit. But even in that video, the Smosh people absolutely called that mother the AH and my mom was like, well, our thing is completely different. Commenter 2. So gift stealing mother thinks you are selfish. Okay, did she do this with other gifts? Like take money from a gift for you? OOP. This is the only time in my life she has ever done something this extreme, which is why I think it gets brought up to this day, because it was such a wild situation for us and sticks out. OOP on getting the phone at the time. OOP. Valid concern, but the phone was genuinely a complete surprise from my grandpa. I had not asked for a new phone from my parents or my grandparents. Commenter 3. You are NTA, but your mom certainly is. It takes a hell of a lot of nerve to steal your child's gift because you want it and then claim that the child is selfish. Your mother's take is strictly self-serving, so she doesn't have to admit that she's wrong for stealing from her own child. Update. Posting an update here instead of Aita so I can just add screenshots. It is unfortunately not much of an update. I sent my mom about a dozen screenshots from the, then, 100 or so comments on the post right when I got off work. She didn't acknowledge or respond to them for a while, kept trying to talk about other things, and I had to keep pressing her to read the comments. I did most of the heavy lifting. She kept trying to change the subject and I had to keep redirecting. I tried to call her a few times after she said she read the comments and she would not answer, even though I think talking over text made this infinitely more frustrating. I don't feel like we came to any conclusion other than to never bring it up again. The final screenshot is from my brother, Jay. Thanks to everyone for giving me better language to talk about this situation and sharing similar experiences. I think it is just something my family has never been able to get over, as stupid as it is. My grandpa passed away 3 years ago, so unfortunately we cannot get his opinion. Transcripts of the text messages between OOP and her mom. Mom, yes, I read the comments you sent me, Mom. Obviously it isn't great to see random Reddit people talking about me on the internet. OP, I know, OOP, like I'm not even upset about the actual phone anymore. I feel like you keep mentioning the phone specifically. It's now more that after all these years you won't acknowledge even a little that what you did was hurtful to me as a teenager and that people like Jay keep bringing it up because it was hurtful. I'm really sick of being called selfish for years because of this one thing, and you keep bringing it up seemingly just to tell people you think I'm selfish. Sorry to say, but I think most of the family agree with the Reddit comments. Mom, yes, okay. I do understand it's not about the phone, Viv, but when a mother says no, she expects that to be the final word. When you have kids, you will understand. From my point of view, everyone is questioning my parental decisions. Does not feel good being called an a-hole for saying no to my kid. Why do cousins need to have an opinion about what happened, let alone strangers? Maybe selfish was the wrong word to use for your behavior. That's fine. OOP. I'm not even sure what to say to that. OOP. You say you understand it's not actually about the phone, but like, do you understand that how you went about this was hurtful and that you've continued to be hurtful about it for years? OP. There are literally comments talking about gaslighting me about this. OOP. Did you show Dad, Mom? Yes. OP. And? Mom. Dad says we need to both get over it. I would like to, but for some reason it keeps being brought up. OP. I would also love to get over it, but you are one of the ones who keep bringing it up. OP. Again, it feels like you keep retelling the story just to tell a story about me being selfish and for no other reason. Mom. Jay brings it up too. OOP. Jay brings it up to emphasize your behavior sometimes. IDKOOP. I think the rest of the family want it to be a funny story and it isn't for us. OOP. I am happy to never bring it up again. OOP. I'm sick of talking about it. OP. But that means you can't bring it up again either. OOP. If you do, I'll show people the Reddit post. LOL. Mom, that's fine. Mom, going to bed now. Love you. OP, night. Please call me tomorrow. Conversation between OOP and her brother, JJ. FFS's phone gate finally over. OOP. LOL, maybe she said you have to stop talking about it. J. OK _hand. IDGF. Top comments. Commenter 1. I commented on your original post, but in my mind I had predicted that this was going to be a reaction. This is such a frustrating response, but just accept it and roll with it. Some people will just never admit that they are wrong. That takes a lot of grace, and I'm sorry. A person who can't help but berate her own daughter is incapable of having such grace. So why keep that expectation? I mean, if the verdict would have been that you indeed were the asshole, she would have rubbed it in your face, but since she has been named the asshole, she wants to move on with life and forgive and forget. This was behavior that I think we all predicted. Maybe she should have thought twice before suggesting you put the story on Reddit. LOL. Can't complain about strangers commenting on your bad parenting when it was your idea to open it up to discussion in the first place. You have just given a second example of her hypocrisy. Sorry if that's hurtful. She's your mother, but as an internet stranger, who saw your story that was approved by your mother to be posted and is hence proof that none of the details are fabricated or untrue, that story truly did not paint a respectable picture of your mother in my head. All I see is a selfish, manipulative parent who continues to be so in the screenshots you have shared. Anyway, what can you do? Take care and hopefully y'all will be okay. Commenter 2. Your mom is just being so frustrating and upsetting. WTF. She can avoid and deny to face the reality all she wants, but at least next time if she brings it up again, you can just show the post to shut her mouth. Even reading this already makes me so furious. I guess it's because I also have a mom who's super entitled. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I hope she'll STF you from now on. My boyfriend won't ask for my hand, and now my dad is staging a family boycott of our wedding. Is my boyfriend being selfish? Original post. I've been with my boyfriend, M25, for 3 years. We both just finished school, and are finally ready for marriage. He proposed last week and I happily said yes. I could not be happier. I love him and he is going to be an awesome dad someday, but my BF is in a very new school and my dad is kind of old school. My dad was beyond mad that my boyfriend did not ask my dad for my hand before proposing. My dad said he was willing to hear my boyfriend's apology if my boyfriend formally asks for my hand at a dinner that my dad said he will pay for at the restaurant of my boyfriend's choosing. My dad feels like he is being very accommodating. He will bring my boyfriend's favorite wine to celebrate. I spoke to my boyfriend last night and he won't budge. He doesn't believe in that tradition. My boyfriend showed me an article online where a Pakistani woman was stoned to death outside a courthouse because she married a man against her family's wishes. This just happened. My boyfriend, who witnessed his father be abusive/possessive with his mom as a child, has always felt strongly that women are not property. He thinks the tradition of asking for her hand is repulsive. His point is that he's met my whole family and gotten to know them. He says they have always known his intentions and he never made it secret that he was in love with me and wanted to marry me and have children. He feels he was done enough to announce his intentions and all of them seem to approve of him. He says that at this point he only needs my approval to marry him and nobody else's. So yesterday my mom told me that my dad, who is not even speaking to me because I won't set my foot down with my boyfriend, is calling the whole family and telling them to not attend my wedding. My mom says that my boyfriend is the one treating me like property by not letting me have a say in his decision to not observe a tradition that my 2 older sisters' husbands observed. I told my mother that I understand where my boyfriend is coming from and that I have decided to do away with the tradition of him asking for my hand. So my mother is obviously mad and said that I should be ready for serious consequences. I asked her what and she would not say. But from talking to my sister, she said that they would blackball us from all family gatherings. My 2 sisters and my mom have told me my boyfriend is being selfish. The wedding is set for August 9th. I'm worried that nobody in my family will attend my wedding. Edit. I'm getting some comments about my boyfriend asking for my parents' blessing instead of permission, or hand. I just can't see the difference. There might be one, but I don't see it. Is there a big difference? TL.dr. My boyfriend won't ask my dad for my hand in marriage and my parents is having my family boycott my wedding and threatening other consequences. Relevant comments. Oopie, thanks for the congrats and comments. I was just thinking as I read some comments here. One comment said that my parents should not have staged the boycott either way. So maybe the boycott signals something more than just my father, wanting to be included in some way. I don't know, I'm now worried that the boycott and calling all my relatives signals more controlling issues that my dad has that I never noticed before. My 2 older sisters had no problems with their wedding because they did everything the way my dad liked. So I'm scared now that maybe my boyfriend is right, that it's not just a tradition. Deleted. My dad feels like he is being very accommodating. No, both he and your mother are being controlling. And they are attempting to make you choose between your fiancé and them. Choose your fiancé, otherwise you're setting precedent for this type of behavior interference for the rest of your marriage. OOP, this is what I'm afraid of. My fiancé and I don't practice Catholic religion like my family does. So I wonder what will happen when my kids aren't baptized and all that. Pastanazgul. You two need to have a discussion about how the children will be raised religion-wise now, before you have the child. Just advice from someone who learned the hard way. OOP, we did. We don't want religion in our children's lives. We decided that education is going to be the focus and they will make their own minds up about religion once they are educated adults. I grew up Catholic, but I don't want that for my kids. My husband grew up somewhat Christian and he still believes in God, but he doesn't want religion to be a part of our family either. We have talked about this subject to death. You're right, it's very important. I realize we might change our minds later, who knows? But my family doesn't know about this. I have a feeling after this boycott that my parents will stage another one when they find out we won't be Catholic. Update: the wedding went on as planned. My parents stuck to their guns and boycotted. One of my 2 sisters attended and is now happily blacklisted from our family. Nobody else from my entire family showed up, including my 2 brothers. The wedding was a little unconventional. My sister walked my husband down the aisle and then his sister walked me down the aisle. I wanted this because my SIL actually introduced us and helped me get my first date with him. There was no question about who gives away the bride or even about objections. It was normal other than that. There has been no contact between me and my family, other than my one sister. My mother has made it a point to send me a card every time that they have a family gathering for holidays or birthdays at their house to let me know that my father says I'm not invited. I get one almost every month. I don't even read them anymore, I just toss them. I don't know why they keep sending them because I've made no effort to contact them and I live over 3 hours away, so it's not like I will run into them by accident. The reason I came back to post this here is because some people here made a prediction that came true, that they would come crawling back when we had children. I am now expecting our first child, a girl. She will be the first grandchild for my parents. My parents found out about the pregnancy a few months ago through a family friend. They didn't waste any time in making demands, not request demands. My boyfriend and I are not religious, but I had a Catholic upbringing. I don't practice at all by choice. My mother called me back in April telling me that my father wanted our daughter's middle name to be his mother's first name. I said no. My father was listening in on the speaker, so I went ahead and told them that they were officially uninvited from all birthdays, graduations, and any other important dates in her life. My father called me half an hour later crying and begging me to come stay with them for the birth so my mother could care for me. I said no. He also said that he had already made arrangements for his priest to baptize her at his church, but that I needed to agree to naming her after his mother if I wanted this to happen. He said he'd already planned a big celebration for the birth and the baptism that he was paying for. I said no to all of it. He went from meekly trying to sweet-talk me to raising his voice at me, and I hung up. He called a couple of more times to apologize for losing his temper and again begged me to reconsider giving birth at a hospital near them so they could visit us. He denied having any knowledge of my mother sending me cards to uninvite us to any family functions and even said that he specifically asked her to invite us, but he was told I declined every time. He lets my mom do the dirty work so he can later hide behind her and deny he had any knowledge. He's done this since I was a little girl. He does this every time he wants to drop the hammer on somebody but be a good cop also. He'll never change. He denied having any knowledge of why anybody in the family missed my wedding. I told him our daughter would not be baptized, or Catholic at all, no offense to Catholics. I told him he was too manipulative and controlling and I didn't want my daughter exposed to that. He's too toxic and just venomous. Coincidentally, the day and for several days after that phone call I got tons of calls and emails from my brothers, their wives, my sister and all my aunts. They all wanted to apologize for missing my wedding, and all had specific excuses, and wanted to make plans to be there for my daughter's birth. I banned them all from her life until she's old enough to decide for herself to let them in. My husband was a little surprised and not sure about banning everybody forever. He's more leaning towards supervised visits if they want to drive to us. My dad has been calling him like crazy, but we are a united front. My husband is deferring to me but giving me ideas as to how I can give a little if I decide to. But with my family there's no giving a little, They want it all. For now, they're all banned. I will reconsider when the youngest of our children turns 18. For now, my dad will have to settle for sucking up to my husband while I stick to my guns. Unlike him, I don't mind owning my decisions even if it means I'm a bad cop. I'm not ready to give up a relatively drama-free, stress-free life to allow my dad and all his sheep back into our lives. TL Doctor, nobody in my family showed up to our wedding other than one of my sisters. Everyone is banned from our lives. Relevant comments, downvoted commenter. He should have just done such a small task and asked, like to make peace? Geez, I mean really pushing your family away for such a stupid reason. On their side and yours. OP, but that's the thing. After that one small task they would want to name my daughter, another small task, then they would ask I go have the baby near them, another small task, then have her baptized by their priest, then they pick her school, then they make life decisions for her like they tried with me and my siblings, all small tasks. OP replying to a downvoted comment that things have gone too far and to make amends for their daughter. I guess I would tell you that not everything fits in the oversimplification in your comment. My daughter will be better off without a full family of manipulative, controlling and abusive people, or people who condone such behavior. After years of abuse, I was glad my husband decided my dad's demand that he ask permission to marry me was too antiquated. The original conflict that caused this rift was years of abuse and manipulation. I chose to burn bridges that needed to go. Otherwise, I would never be free to make my own decisions about my own life without consulting with my dad at every turn. Caught my wife smiling as her lover grabbed her ass. I filed for divorce, and now she's begging for forgiveness. My spouse, 30F and I 32M, recently got back from an extended camping trip with two other couples who have been friends for years. We had a terrific visit, but I still can't get over what happened the morning we departed. As we prepared to return home, we were all packed. I noticed my wife and my friend when I looked up from loading our car. They were a few feet distant from the campsite. I watched as he reached out and squeezed her hip while slipping his hand down her ass while she was stooping to pick something up. My wife pushed his hand away swiftly, but she didn't seem furious. Instead, she was grinning at him in a way that was almost amusing. I felt as though I had been punched in the stomach, but it all happened so quickly, maybe a second or two. I looked about, but it didn't appear to be observed by anyone else. The second couple was farther away, talking about the travel back, while his wife was busy packing up their car. It was a calm drive home. My wife attempted to strike up a discussion, but I was unable to concentrate since I kept thinking about that event. I pretended that I was just thinking about work when she questioned why I was so silent. To tell the truth, I was stunned. I was reluctant to mention it. She could try to convince me that I was being crazy or that I was just having hallucinations if I brought it up. I had the impression that I was going through the rest of the day automatically. I can scarcely concentrate at work today because I didn't get much sleep last night. Every aspect is being questioned by my rushing thoughts. Everything seemed in order, and aside from what I witnessed, the remainder of the vacation was fantastic. I'm unsure if I understood the scenario correctly. However, the smile on her face seemed too casual and welcoming for something that went too far. I adore my wife dearly. Since our first year of college together, I have never had any cause to question her. Even though she is my best friend, I'm having trouble untangling a knot in my stomach for the first time. I've always had great faith in her and have never been the kind to pry. However, as I sit here, I'm debating whether or not to check her phone. Even if I wanted to, I'm not sure how I could accomplish it without her figuring it out because it's password protected. I know I have to take action because this is getting to me. Is it foolish of me to look through her phone? And how could I if it's password secured, even if I wanted to? Update 1, I located her iPad. Since there was no password, I was able to log in, and her phone is still linked to it. She's using Telegram. There, they have been conversing. She is cheating, but I'm still reading through the messages. I'm attempting to maintain my composure so that I can make the right decision going forward without ruining this. How should I proceed? When she gets home, should I confront her? Should I confront him at his home? Please assist. Update 2. I appreciate all of your advice. I kept it a secret from her. I've sequestered myself in my home office, claiming that I have work to catch up on. She is not a suspect. The iPad stayed with me. She won't even realize it's gone because she hasn't used it in a long time. As an additional precaution, I used my phone to take screenshots of every message they sent. As far as I can tell, they have been communicating for at least 8 months. Their primary means of contact is Telegram. After splitting from me and his wife, they appear to have exchanged explicit communications and even planned to formally announce their relationship. It's unbelievable that she would harm me in this way. She even texted him a suggestive picture of herself earlier this evening while she was heading to the gym, based on the communications I read. She wanted to be intimate and began kissing me as soon as she got home. I declined, stating that I had some work to do. I'll take the advice I've been given here and get some evidence because I'm confused and unable to think clearly right now. I'll go to work on those actions. Additionally, I've noticed a number of comments suggesting that I keep my money apart from hers. We have joint bank accounts and co-own the apartment where we reside. She is aware that I had a sizable legacy from my parents, who passed away in a car accident 2 years ago. Even if she doesn't have access to that money, is there anything I can do to safeguard it in case something goes wrong? Fortunately, we are not yet parents. Update 3. Since I occasionally work from home and had no meetings this morning, I used the time to look up and call attorneys. Although most couldn't schedule me until next week, I have 2 consultations scheduled for tomorrow. As soon as I get a lawyer and get myself covered legally, I will tell his wife and present her the evidence. Before I determine what to do next, like addressing my wife, I'll allow her time to organize her affairs and, if she so desires, hire a lawyer. I have no idea why I'm feeling this way. For some reason, I'm more numb than outraged. The messages, particularly the explicit ones, make me feel ill and queasy. I feel like I'm living someone else's life, even though I'm only doing what I have to do at the moment. I'm not sure how long I can maintain this poker look before she realizes something's wrong. I appreciate all of your support and messages. Update 4. I appreciate all of the advice you have given me. I have been keeping myself occupied with work and going to the gym, so not much has happened since yesterday. My wife is aware that the anniversary of my parents' deaths is approaching in approximately 1 month. I simply said that I was thinking about them when she questioned why I appeared aloof. A handful of my scheduled lawyer consultations are today, but the majority are scheduled for next week. After I choose a lawyer and am aware of my options, I will provide another update. Final update. My divorce papers were filed this morning after I found a great lawyer who was able to draft them in a matter of days. Since I reside in a no-fault jurisdiction, none of the adultery evidence I collected will be utilized in court. The good news is that since I didn't spend my fortune on married expenditures, it's safe. One of us will have to buy the other out, or we will both have to sell our condo, which was a wedding present with equal down payments from both sets of parents. I gave my ex-friend's wife a ring on Saturday and invited her over for coffee. Ironically, her husband and my wife had taken an overnight excursion together, which is why I picked this day. Through their texts on the iPad, I learned that my wife had informed me that she would be spending the weekend at her sister's house to assist with the children while her sister's husband was away on business. Meanwhile, her spouse said he was gone on a project for work. In actuality, my wife's spouse was paying for their hotel stay while they were traveling out of town together. I showed his wife the telegram pictures and messages. She informed me that a few months prior, she had observed that he was being aloof, but she had never believed that he was cheating and had dismissed it as work-related stress. She was devastated to learn that her husband was having an affair with my wife, who is also her friend. I provided her my lawyer's contact information in case she wanted it throughout our lengthy conversation. She's thinking about her choices. Sunday evening. After visiting her sister's house, my wife came home. Just after spending the weekend with her lover, she came in the door, kissed me and said she missed me. She has nearly demonic compartmentalization skills. We needed to chat, so I sat her down. We live in a one-party consent state, so I did as my lawyer advised and taped the entire conversation. It proceeded like this. I begged her to swear to tell the truth to me. Despite her apparent nervousness, she answered, "Of course, baby." I then posed a number of queries, including, "Do you love me?" "Yes." "Are you satisfied with me?" "Yes, darling, of course." "Have I treated you well as a husband? Do I treat you fairly?" "Yes and yes." "So why are you betraying me?" After a whole minute of staring at me in disbelief, she started to dispute it. After some time passed, I advised her to stop acting as I already knew the truth. On a night out with her partner a few months back, she finally broke down and confessed to kissing a man who had been making advances on her at a pub. I'm not sure why, but the whole thing was so ridiculous that I started giggling at this point. She had cheated on him more than once. She had done it whenever she could. I questioned her about whether or not she had cheated before. She vowed fervently that it was the only occasion, that it was a sign of weakness, that she was intoxicated, and that it had no significance. I told her I had filed for divorce, but I remained silent and gave her my lawyer's business card. I wanted to speak with her once to see whether there was anything worth preserving about our marriage, so I hadn't filed yet. I instructed her to call my lawyer if she wanted to get in touch with me. After crying, pleading, and apologizing, She started gaslighting me by claiming that I was discarding everything we owned because of a single error as I was packing a suitcase. Her statement that you have no one else in the world was the worst. Why would you abandon your lone surviving family? I informed her that she was the only family member I had left after my parents passed away and that I could rely on no one else, thus it hurt that she responded negatively. That evening, I departed for a motel, where I will remain until I locate a new flat. I formally filed for divorce yesterday. Edit. I kept my knowledge of my ex-friend's affair from her. I said nothing about the other affair when she confessed to kissing a stranger at the pub. After confronting him, my ex-friend's wife called my wife and yelled at her. I don't blame his wife for being upset when I spoke with her. She had been traveling out of town to visit her ailing mother, but her husband took advantage of the opportunity to spend time with my wife rather than providing for her. I was caught off guard when my wife confessed to kissing a stranger, so I kept the affair a secret. It might not seem like much in comparison to the double life she was living with my friend, but it was shocking to me at the time when I discovered how much she wanted to cheat on me. I simply went since I was too furious to speak to her without losing my temper. Leaving made more sense than trying to figure out why she had been having an affair with my former friend. She continued to call and leave messages that night after I left the house. My ex-friend's wife ceased attempting to contact me after she phoned her the following day and addressed her husband as well. Both she and he have been completely silent ever since. I connected the dots because I stopped getting calls from my ex-friend's wife completely around the time she messaged me to tell me she had confronted him and phoned my wife. I agreed to open our relationship because my girlfriend wanted it, but it wrecked her life. My boyfriend, 24F, and I, 27M, chose to have an open relationship after 5 years of monogamy. We had dated in high school, but when I left for college, we broke up because I suspected she no longer liked me. Years later, Mom told me that she understood I needed to stretch my wings and enjoy my life while at college. While I was away at college, her mother became extremely severe after discovering she had a boyfriend and had lost her virginity. She wasn't permitted to hang out with friends or go anywhere, and because she was financially reliant on her mother, she stayed under her mother's control even when she started college. Meanwhile, I was out dating, having fun and trying to enjoy life, but I still missed her, even if she was at home. When we first met and began dating again, she informed me about her mother's treatment and I told her about my college experiences. We moved in together in 2016 and have been living there ever since. Over the past year, she has expressed a desire to try new activities. I felt jealous at first, but then I understood. The first time we pondered beginning our relationship, the guy she was interested in turned out to be rather trash, so she opted against it. She recently made a new acquaintance at work and told me she wanted to spend time with him. They've been talking all the time, but they haven't had any sex yet. Meanwhile, I've been using dating apps, interacting with individuals, and attempting to form connections. However, I'm understanding more and more that I don't care about anyone else and only want to be with her. It's painful while I'm at work, and we don't see each other often during the week. Then, on weekends when I'm not working, she hangs around with him. I feel as if I've taken a back seat to this entire event, and I can't help but feel lonely and alone. Every time I tell her I'm uncomfortable, she wants to cancel everything and end our relationship. She has stated that she is aware that this is an itch that must be scratched, and that if she does not, she will be left wondering about it forever. I suppose all I need is someone to communicate my emotions to and help me work through how I feel. I have an appointment with a therapist, which should help a lot. We began our relationship on July 7, 2022, after 5 years of monogamy because she wanted to expand her sexual experiences after growing up in an incredibly conservative environment. There were setbacks since I'm highly monogamous and had difficulty meeting mates, but she was able to secure dates and encounters almost immediately. Things improved after I went to therapy and discovered healthy ways to communicate my emotions. Our connection remained strong, but it improved much more as I began sharing my emotions more efficiently. I ultimately met someone who was both a great friend and a fantastic sexual partner. Unlike my partner, I discovered that I couldn't have intimacy with strangers unless I had a link, and I didn't want any more sexual encounters because I grew up with a lot more freedom. My girlfriend, on the other hand, began to get jealous of my relationship with this new companion. She began interfering with our time together, contacting me frequently when I was with this person or initiating sex with me just as I was ready to leave. This behavior began to indicate a pattern for me. Before this year, my girlfriend was extremely responsible. She handled money well, even when we didn't have much. She worked a steady job with regular hours and had started college the previous fall to advance her career. However, prior to us starting our relationship, she began to regress. It began with her spending her whole income on tattoos and piercings, which I didn't mind because I enjoy external self-expression. But then she started antagonizing her bosses, arriving hours late or quitting work early without notice. This semester, her grades fell, and she gradually stopped attending class, until she had no idea when midterms or spring break were. She had no idea finals were over and the semester had ended. My girlfriend took a 2-month leave of absence from her job, stating it was for her mental health, about a month or two after I began to feel closer to my new partner. When I proposed therapy, she declined. She limited her encounters to one constant guy and began spending days with him at a time. This would have been a greater red sign if I hadn't begun working 12-hour swing shifts this year. She told me she hated being at home alone, and since I was gone so much, it made sense for her to find somewhere else to be while I was at work. Despite the fact that she does not own a car or a driver's license, she has begun to use meal delivery services. This made no sense, especially since I buy groceries and keep the house supplied with food. She was wasting my money because she was not working. It started to feel like she'd lost her sense of maturity. When I brought up money problems or the fact that she wasn't doing anything at home while I was at work, she became frustrated. She'd spend the entire day lying in bed, ordering food. Whenever I tried to have good conversations about my feelings in the relationship, she would shut off. She'd reply she hadn't noticed any changes and that I might be making things up in my head. Eventually, she quit her work without having anything else planned. This drove me to distance myself from her, both physically and emotionally, because I thought my relationship requirements were not being addressed. She noticed right away, presuming I was no longer attracted to her. She grew irritated because I stopped initiating intimacy and the quality of our relationship had worsened. I attempted to make things right by sharing my emotions and explaining why it was difficult for me to want intimacy from her. However, she insisted that I was simply calling her a problem. We no longer have closeness, let alone cuddling. We still talk a lot, but much of it revolves around her sexual partner. I barely see her anymore, and whenever I try to initiate intimacy, she always has an excuse. She's sleepy, on her period, or anything. When she attempts to initiate sex, it is usually at the most embarrassing or inconvenient times. All of the closeness has vanished, and we haven't had sex in about 2 months. I want to talk to her about it, but every time I bring it up, she gets irritated and threatens to end the relationship or claims I'm never satisfied. She continually tells me that I am the man she wants to marry and that she cannot imagine herself with anyone else, which complicates the matter even more. My working belief is that what I need in my life is maturity, and the partner I found exemplifies that: responsible, fun, and balanced. On the other hand, my girlfriend appears to be looking for mindless entertainment and availability, and her present boyfriend reflects this. He has no personal commitments, rarely works, and is always available. Whatever happens, I do not want to leave my girlfriend. I know who she was and who I fell in love with, but I'm not sure whether I care about who she is today. We've discussed the possibility of couples therapy once we've gotten our finances under control, but she doesn't seem interested. I really don't know what to do at this point. Update 1. The same day I wrote this, she received a call from her mother, the biggest enemy in her childhood. They've had surface-level contact since she left home, but her mother informed her that her brother was experiencing psychotic episodes as a result of years of seclusion. Her mother also acknowledged that she had realized how terribly she had raised her children and apologized to my girlfriend. This appeared to trigger something in her, and she let out a lot of resentment. She informed her mother that she was going to begin therapy because she recognized she was becoming like her and did not want to hurt others the way she had been abused as a child. I'm not sure how serious she meant it, because she was pretty emotional at the moment. However, while on break from her current job, which she started last week, she began looking for a second one. She stated that having too much free time this year had a detrimental impact on her, and she wanted to try to achieve emotional and financial stability. This is all great progress, but several people in the comments made valid points. Ultimately, I need to figure out what I truly desire. I understand that jumping from one relationship to another will not serve myself or anyone else in the long run. I've also realized that I deserve to establish limits and have a say in my own life, but I recognize that partnerships involve work, and that work must be shared. I need to do some serious thinking, and I'll provide an update if anything changes. Update 2. It's been a few months, so I thought I'd provide an update. About a week after the initial post, I recognized that things were not improving. I discussed it with some friends and they all agreed it was time to break up. I knew it was ultimately my decision, but after reading all of the comments, I realized I needed to take charge of how I wanted to live my life. I broke up with her and stated why. I highlighted the things I wasn't happy with and the adjustments I'd like to see if we ever decided to get back together. She sobbed, and we spoke on the phone because we were never both home at the same time. She appeared to understand my reasoning and stated she would work on herself. As our lease expired, My roommate and I searched for a new place to live. She had expected she would move in with me, which I briefly pondered. However, I decided against it, especially when she went on a rant about how she wanted to destroy my friends after discovering they had encouraged me to quit my relationship with her. Finally, I informed her she couldn't come with me. She ended up moving in with the person she had been seeing, but she remained in touch with me. She never really tried to improve herself. Instead, she would constantly moan about how bad her new boyfriend was, drawing parallels to our previous relationship. She eventually recognized that how he treated her was harsh and toxic. I pointed out the parallels between her connection with him and the way she treated me. She made a half-hearted apology, but it didn't feel genuine. I returned to treatment and have been doing well ever since. My finances are more steady than they have been in years, and I am now dating the woman I was seeing previously. This is the easiest relationship I've ever had. Our communication methods are consistent and we communicate affection in the same way. It was surprising at first since I had become accustomed to turbulence and dysfunction in past relationships, but dating her felt like finally having someone on my side, someone dependable and steady. It took time to break my codependent tendencies and learn that I'm entitled to my own space and freedom. With her encouragement, I resumed my interests and began going back to the gym. Reflecting on the prior 6 years, I realize how much I tolerated and sacrificed for my ex, which prompted me to lash out in fury. My therapist helped me realize that channeling my anger in that way wasn't good. So I've been working on being more productive and creative. Life now feels much more balanced and fulfilling. Mom secretly changed my wedding cake order and doesn't know I found out. What should I do? Original post, September 26, 2023. My fiancé and I get married this fall, and the cake has been a huge point of contention with my mom. Long saga, but the gist is that we wanted a dessert bar or cheesecake instead of a traditional cake. My mom initially insisted on having at least a small cake for just us to cut. We compromised and got quotes. Right before we put a deposit down, she decided that having just a cake for us and not for guests is tacky, so we needed to get a sheet cake to serve as well. We were annoyed because she was the one to suggest it, so we cut our losses and opted to do tiered cheesecake and mini cheesecakes, as we originally wanted. My mom would not let this go for the past 6 months. She then decided to focus on pushing for a groom's cake. My fiancé did not want one. When I told her this, she said it's really only a groom's cake in name and not about what he wants. I told her a firm no, multiple times because she wouldn't give up. That brings us to this week. I got a text yesterday saying she was at the bakery and paid for the order. I got suspicious because I never included her in those communications. I called the bakery today and was told by a very apologetic employee that my mom had added a multi-tiered groom's cake, with different fillings, flowers, the whole kit and caboodle. We still have cheesecake, but I feel like it'll look silly next to what is essentially a wedding cake. My question now is, what do I do? She doesn't know that I know. I'm furious and hurt. Obviously it's just a cake, but it's not really about that now. She went behind my back and crossed multiple boundaries after I told her no. Am I being a bridezilla for not letting her have her traditional wedding cake? Relevant comment. Comment 1. Why should she have a cake at your wedding? If you don't want cake, just change the order back and call it a day. And add a password for all your vendors moving forward so changes can't be made without it. OOP. Everyone I've spoken to has either been in the camp of, well, they're paying for the wedding, or, not her wedding, not her cake. I think that's why I'm torn because yes, they are paying. But changing the order behind my back. I'm more upset about the violation of trust than the actual cake, I think. Comment 2. It is not just a cake, it is a breach of your boundaries and your wishes. Cancel her order, put a password on all your wedding accounts. You are not marrying her, you are marrying your partner. OOP. Exactly. It's the breach of trust that's been the most upsetting. I need to call back tomorrow and see if it's possible to cancel and get a refund, since she paid in full. I suspect she did that intentionally, thinking she was being so clever. Comment 3. Ask the bakery to convert the cake into additional cheesecake and mini cheesecakes. Maybe a smaller groom's cake, that looks nothing like a wedding cake. Do not tell her you did this. When you go to the bakery, have a password put on the order so it cannot be changed after you make the appropriate changes. She thinks she got something over on you. If she does check on it, the password will stop her from making any other changes. If she shows up at the venue with yet another cake, instruct the people at the venue to put it in the back and not bring it out. OOP. Thanks for the advice. Having the cake changed to more cheesecakes is a good idea. Never in a million years did I think I'd have to become like one of the Redditors and password protect my wedding, but here we are. Update, December 30th, 2023, 3 months later. Hello again. A big thank you to everyone who gave advice on my original post. I'm now married and had the best, most relaxing honeymoon with my now husband without any pesky family bothering us. By the time I posted, it was too late to cancel the wedding due to deposits and contracts, so it continued as planned. And to clarify, yes, my parents did pay for the wedding, although my husband and I made it clear several times that we did not expect or need them to pay for everything. No, I don't think paying excuses for my mom's actions. My parents reiterated that it was our wedding and we should do what we wanted. Clearly the cake was the exception to this, though she had previously said to get cheesecake if that's what we wanted. My husband and I got a laugh out of everyone's suggestions for how to handle the cake. Initially, I wanted to go the petty route and surprise my mom by calling the bakery to change the cake design to something she would find tacky that would reflect my husband's hobbies. You know, like a groom's cake should do. After taking a few days to weigh my options, I knew my desire for petty satisfaction would nuke my relationship with my mom, which had truthfully never had this dynamic up until wedding planning. I knew that she absolutely was the one in the wrong and acting like a child. And while I'm the actual child in the relationship, I wanted to be mature and handle this like an adult, if only for my own moral high ground. I communicated with my parents and listed all the reasons why this situation, and others throughout the wedding planning process, was hurtful and completely out of line. Shock of the century to everyone on Reddit, I'm sure. It didn't go well. There was a series of texts I received from my mom that demonstrated she couldn't take accountability or comprehend that I wasn't mad that she ruined my wedding by ordering a cake, but rather that she went behind my back knowing it would surprise and upset me on my wedding day. I attempted multiple times to redirect to the actual issue with little success. We ended the conversation with her apologizing for a cake making my husband and me so upset. This obviously wasn't a genuine apology or the main issue, even if she thought it was. She also agreed to move the groom's cake to a meal we had the day before the wedding, which I was fine with. At this point we were a week out from the wedding and the thought of continuing to press the issue was too much for me to handle with everything else on my plate. I dropped the rope leading up to the wedding so I could refocus on enjoying my wedding as best as I could. I interacted with my mom as little as possible the day of, and our wedding party and coordinator did a fantastic job being a buffer. While I've had some contact with her since, it has dramatically declined so I can get some much needed space. Obviously we'll need to have some tough conversations, but I'm choosing to spend my time with my new husband, and getting back into therapy, first. Weddings, man. They really bring out the crazy in people. Oh, and the cheesecakes were a huge hit BTW. Relevant comments. Mrs. Neville Bardos. I'm glad you had the day you wanted and enjoyed your honeymoon. Unfortunately, although previously this wasn't the dynamic you had with your mother, the fact she refused to see her error and wasn't apologetic. If I were you, I would bear that in mind for the future, i.e. other major events, children, etc., and plan accordingly. OOP. Oh, absolutely. The lack of respecting boundaries, breaking trust for future life events was actually something I pointed out in our conversation. She didn't seem to understand the point I was making, just kept going back to the cake and not the deeper issue. 1 year update. November 3, 2024. I'm back, with a 1 year update on how my mom changed my wedding cake order without me knowing. People have reached out for an update, and coincidentally I've had several friends get engaged who have similar family dynamics as mine. I've shared all of this with them, but I feel the need to blast this out online too. Now that I'm a year out, I can acknowledge that I love my husband and our life together, but having a traditional wedding was a big mistake. When I think back on our wedding day, I am devastated to admit that the few emotions I remember from that day were not how much I love my now husband and excitement over our future together, but anxiety over my mom and whether shit was about to blow up. If you're recently engaged and have difficult family relationships, or aren't completely sold on shelling out a ton of money on a wedding, please let this be yet another loud voice yelling at you. Elope, have a courthouse wedding? Don't invite problematic guests. Do whatever you want to do, but for the love of God avoid that family drama at all costs. I wish I would have stuck to what I originally wanted, eloping somewhere abroad. But alas, I made my decision and have to accept it. What I didn't mention in my initial posts was that my relationship with my mom immediately and irrevocably changed as soon as I became engaged. Even though I knew she could be a lot, I had no idea what I was in for. If I could do it all again, I would have stopped that wedding planning train in its tracks after the first few signs of craziness. The cake was, unsurprisingly, just the last straw of craziness that happened. Greatest hits include, telling literally, and I mean literally, everyone she knew that we were getting engaged, less than 10 minutes after my husband told my parents he planned to propose, upon sharing the proposal photos with her, commenting on how big I looked in the photos, which are, to this day, ruined for me, told a family member, Who commented on how beautiful I looked at a pre-wedding event. Yeah, well, she's gained a lot of weight. Tried to crash my first look the day of my wedding and acted hurt that she wasn't invited. Did crash my first look and threw a fit when my wedding coordinator wouldn't let her in. Made the wedding all about how she never had a say in anything and that I was the controlling, immature one. We do still have contact today, but it's limited and I am very guarded with what I choose to share. She never genuinely apologized or acknowledged the stress and hurt she caused. Short of some major changes on her part, I don't see that happening. So yeah, the moral of the story is to absolutely soak up the fresh excitement of getting engaged. But seriously, ask yourself if there's anyone in your life who will make wedding planning hell on earth. If you're oh so fortunate to have a character like that, have a plan to handle it, and be prepared to enforce those boundaries. And for the extra crazy families out there, maybe just elope. Additional information from OOOP. I see how the wording was misleading and I should have linked the 2 previous posts. The point of this was more so to serve as a cautionary tale to any engaged couples out there who are dealing with a situation like this. Learn from my mistakes. What starts as little complaints drama can quickly snowball and permanently change relationships if you don't nip it in the bud. OOP on how to handle family issues on wedding planning. OOP, fair enough. I've seen so many couples recently who are having issues with family very early on in wedding planning, so I wanted to share how 1 year later, my family relationships are horrible because of one day and it personally wasn't worth it for me. Yes, I regret not handling it earlier on and picking up on those red flags. Hindsight is 20/20 and life can be more complicated than what's on paper. My husband knocked out my brother for calling me a wastrickery, and now my parents want me to choose. What is the right choice? Original post. Sorry for the throwaway account. I have colleagues on my main account and I want to keep this as private as possible but also need advice. As my title says basically. This past weekend me and my husband were over at my parents' house for a BBQ. The day was going great until my brother for some reason started to have a go at me. Calling me names and belittling me. My husband pulled my brother aside and had a talk with him and the insults stopped. An hour or so later we were standing around talking with some friends and family members and my brother came up to me and told me I'm a whore. His exact words were, "You know you are a fucking whore, right?" He said it loud enough for almost everyone at the party to hear. All I saw was my husband next to me look at me, then I felt a push to the side. My husband stepping in front of me and the next thing was my brother out cold on the ground with blood on his face. All I heard is my mother yelling and my husband saying, "You don't talk to my wife like that, I warned you already." Before I continue, my husband didn't hurt me, he didn't push me hard or anything like that. Don't know how to describe it but it was like a push that someone will give you when they are trying to pass. I went like one step back, that is all. I am not mad at my husband. I'm mad at my brother. The whole day he was demeaning me, insulting me, belittling me. I don't know where this came from as he has never talked to me like that or to anyone that I know of. The bigger problem is that I have to choose. Either my husband or my parents. My parents are pissed and have given me an ultimatum. I either leave my husband and divorce him or they cut me off completely. My husband doesn't give a crap that they are mad, the only thing he is mad about is that he only got one punch in his words. I love my husband and don't want to lose him but I also don't want to lose my parents. They have supported me through a lot and have always been there for me. I know they are serious as this is the first time they have ever issued me with an ultimatum. They also threatened my husband with an assault charge but he didn't care and welcomed them to do it. I'm stuck between a decision that will change my life forever and I'm panicking. I have received messages for friends and other family members that have given me support and condemned my husband but they are leaning more on the support side. Any advice will be appreciated. Edit to clarify, I'm choosing my husband. I have never questioned that but I also don't want to lose my family. I am very family oriented and family to me is everything. I want to find a solution where I can keep both. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info: why do your parents think it's okay that your brother called you names? What is their excuse? OOP. They haven't excused his actions but they are condemning my husband for resorting to violence. Commenter 2. What kind of family does this stuff? It sounds very dysfunctional. What were the circumstances whereby your brother goes off on you like that? Now your parents issue an ultimatum? I appreciate that your husband stuck up for you, but that was a terrible political move. OOP. One thing about my husband, he is sweet and gentle but he has never cared what someone else thinks about him other than me, and his own mother. OOP's thoughts on violence and how her husband had done this to her brother. OOP. My husband doesn't resort to violence. I have never seen him really angry and what I saw in his face was just anger. I don't know how to describe it. This is the first time I have seen him react violently to anything. My husband doesn't care at all. The only peoples whose opinions matter to him is mine and his mother. My brother as well has never talked to me like that at all. This is the first time. OOP's husband needs to earn her parents' forgiveness for what he has done to their son/her brother. OOP. My husband honestly doesn't care. When I asked if he would apologize for reacting with violence just to keep the peace, he told me my brother and parents can go fuck themselves. My husband has tried to cheer me up, but he hasn't pushed anything on me. He hasn't given me an ultimatum to choose him or anything. He apologized for putting me in the position with my parents, but he isn't sorry for knocking out my brother. In my husband's words, I asked him nicely to stop, and I did tell him he will face the consequences if he continued, and he didn't listen. He doesn't care what people think of him. The only opinions that matter to him are mine and his own mother. OOP on if she had dated someone before her husband. Any chances that her brother called her names for another reason like cheating? OOP, no. My husband was my first, and I have never done anything else with anyone except my husband. Update. First, I would like to thank everyone, and I want to apologize as well for the way I worded my post. It's no excuse, but my emotional state isn't the best. Unable to link my previous post, just look at the account. My husband is my choice, and I have no intentions of leaving him at all, never have. I know it's early for an update, but I'm more confused now about what is going on. My parents invited me over to have a talk with them, but they wanted me to come alone as they didn't want my husband at their house. My husband refused to let me go alone and said if he isn't going then he won't allow me to. He basically said with you alone there they will just pile on you and that I won't let happen, so we went together. My parents weren't happy to see him, and my mother wanted to say something until my husband told her he isn't there for them but me, and if he is forced to leave I will leave with him. I agreed with him. Reluctantly they agreed. My brother was there as well. He has a broken nose and chipped teeth and refused to look at me or my husband. He just kept looking at the ground even while talking. Apparently what happened with my brother is that he broke up with his girlfriend a month ago. It's more like she broke up with him. Don't know the reason. Don't care. I wasn't aware of this as we aren't close like that. According to him, the reason he had a go at me this weekend is because of my life. According to him, my perfect life with my husband kept popping up on his feeds and he got jealous. Everything on my social media is with my husband. I don't really use it for anything else, but his feed was full of my posts and that set him off as I had something that he didn't. It got worse when he overheard me and my mother talking when I had a discussion with her over children. Me and my husband are currently trying to have a baby, and that just made everything worse in his head. His life was falling apart and mine was going perfectly, and was trying to have what he wanted with his ex. He said he didn't take my husband seriously when he pulled him aside and my husband warned him. I seriously don't know why he went after me, as nothing he said was true in any sense, and I did ask him why he said those things. He refused to answer me. I asked him why the whore comment, because he knows my husband was my first in everything and it has only been him all these years. He refused to answer. I asked him if trying to have a baby with my husband makes me a whore as it involves sex, and he just left the room. I asked my parents why they didn't step in and tell my brother to leave or stop. My dad said he wanted to, but my mother told him to leave my brother as he is not actually hurting anyone. The same with the ultimatum, they wanted to protect my brother. I asked what about me and they were silent. All my father said was the ultimatum was my mother's idea and he went along with it. This is basically where we are at the moment. A lot more was said, but I don't think it matters. My husband did apologize to my parents for what happened but refused to apologize to my brother. When my mother asked him to apologize to my brother, he outright said no. He won't apologize for standing up for me, and my brother got what he deserved. He was warned and didn't listen. My mother said it still doesn't excuse him for hitting my brother. My husband asked my dad what he would do if someone called his wife a whore. My father said I will have a talk with that person, but will never hit someone. My husband laughed and told my dad he is a weak-willed, spineless man if he allows someone to demean his wife like that. That got my mom red in the face. I could see her get angry. That is when I told my husband it's time to leave. I told my parents that I will be going low contact with them, and the ultimatum they gave me broke the trust I had in them. I understand they wanted to protect my brother, but in doing that they hurt me. This seemed to take all the anger out of my mother. They asked if I will be cutting them out completely, and I told them that is up to them. I don't want anything to do with my brother at the moment, as he can't even apologize for what he said to me. I told them if they can respect my wishes we will see. When we got up to leave, my husband went over to my parents and actually still greeted them politely, but told my dad it's time to grow a backbone. I don't know what I saw, but I think it was a shame on my mother's face, because my dad looked at my mother and she looked away from him. This is where we are at the moment. My husband on the way back home apologized for possibly escalating things, but told me it was time someone told my dad the truth. He said whatever punishment comes he will take and deal with any fallout. I don't need to worry or stress about anything. Edit, my brother's ex cheated on him, and apparently he begged her to fix things but she chose the other guy and now he is just pissed and angry at every woman and believes we will all do that eventually. Got a message from my cousin. The family had a go at my parents for allowing my brother to talk to me the way he did and they came clean as to why he did what he did, but couldn't do it when I was over and we talked. They couldn't be honest with me and just refused to answer. Additional information from OOP. OOP. Honestly, really thinking about it. The only person I have felt genuine unconditional love and support from is my husband. There are a lot of things I just swept under the rug and thought it was siblings things, but looking back whenever my brother had a difficult time it was taken out on me in some way and my parents have never stuck up for me. My husband has had my back around every corner and has never thrown things in my face like my parents or brother have. OP on her parents' relationship and why they are not hearing her out. OP. My father just follows what my mother said. In my 26 years of life I have never seen my dad go against my mother with anything. Anything she says or wants to do it fine with him no matter the cost. For instance, my dad basically has no friends as my mother didn't like them so he gave them up and hasn't made new friends because when he tried my mother finds something she doesn't like about that person and he agrees. OOP should have gone alone to talk with her parents and brother about her husband's behavior. OOP. So I should take the way he worded it over the fact that he wanted to be there and make sure I'm not getting gaslighted. I took it as he want to ensure I'm safe and what happens doesn't happen again. My wording is bad as my emotional state isn't the best that is on me and I should have probably double-checked everything before posting but his emotional state can't be any better than mine. He is dealing with everything and on top of that he is trying his best to keep my mood up. I know it sounded bad but I took what he said with all the other actions he took so far to keep me safe. The son's behavior is starting to creep me out, but I'm not sure if it's actually inappropriate or just a cultural difference. Original post. Hey there, using a throwaway just in case. So I'm from the US and recently moved to Italy to be a nanny. I feel this is important because so far I have not been able to tell if I'm struggling with a cultural difference here in Italy or if I actually have reason to be weirded out. It is easy to tell that the son, Dario, is in middle school, as he is already several inches taller than me and his mom, and has maybe 30 pounds on me. When I first got here, some of the stuff that freaked me out a little I could handle and I chalked it up to being an Italy thing. This includes stuff like talking almost exclusively in a baby voice when addressing his parents, calling his parents mommy and daddy, fighting physically with his little sister over who gets to sit on mom and dad's lap multiple times throughout the day, fighting with the sister over who gets to sleep with the parents, getting extremely upset when mom or dad leaves for the day, and whining about not getting enough kisses or time laying in bed kissing with mom, and having his parents blow on chewed food in his mouth because it's too hot. Now I really don't want to be critical of this if it's normal here, you know? But in the US I seriously can't imagine a single 7th grade boy engaging in any of these behaviors, so it's really new to me. And really it hadn't affected me, so I just let it be. The problem is though that now I'm starting to get involved and it's making me really uncomfortable. For example, our rooms have adjacent windows which allows the kids to see into my entire room at all times. To me, this is pretty inappropriate. What am I supposed to do when I need to change clothes? But I also don't want to seem like I am sexualizing children or accusing them of anything, so I just politely asked for curtains and took to changing in the bathroom. After weeks without curtains the family finally promised me that someone was coming to put them up. Well, he only put them in the kids' room. Ever since then I find Dario peeping through the curtains at me multiple times a day. Now I'm sure he is just checking on me, or curious about what I'm up to, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell the family though because I'm afraid they would think I was accusing their baby of trying to spy on me changing, so I just took matters into my own hands and hung a blanket up over my window. Another issue has been when we stay at the kids' grandparents' house. There's a room for the parents, with a bed for one child, and a room for me with a bed for one child. I figured we would split up boys and girls, and I would stay with the daughter, but nighttime rolls around and Dario is crawling into the bed next to mine. I was so uncomfortable I could hardly sleep. I have talked to my friends at home about this and they all think it's really weird, because we aren't related and he's a teenager now. But this is of course an American opinion. So I can't tell for sure if we're imposing our ideas on this family. Again, if this is really a cultural thing though, I don't know how to tell the family that where I'm from, it's kind of inappropriate for a boy so old to be sleeping next to me, especially when he's been spying on me lately. Without causing issues. Of course these behaviors affect other aspects of our life as well as it is hard to get Dario to do anything because he usually claims it's too hard to do. Making a bed at 13? Too hard? Are you kidding? And I often find myself wanting to tell him to grow up. What I need help with is knowing whether he does need to grow up or if all this behavior is normal here and I'm the crazy American that needs to adjust. Is this behavior normal for a 12-year-old, or is it immature? I feel like the parents still really see him as a young child, and usually he acts like it, but for the most part it seems like he plays up the baby act because he knows it makes his parents cater to him more. If this all is abnormal, does anyone have any suggestions about how to bring this up to the family? Edit. Just want to clarify that at the grandparents' house there are 2 beds, and they are next to each other. Dario was not in my bed but in the bed next to mine. TL.er, I am a nanny for a boy, 13M, whose behavior makes me uncomfortable. I'm not sure if he is actually being inappropriate or if there is just a large cultural difference between my home country and this country. Relevant comments. The freaky. It's normal behavior for a spoiled 13-year-old. Of course most adolescents would want to peek at you through the curtains. The problem is the parents, they have to stop that shit right now. Don't you have authority as a nanny to scold him? I'm Spanish, we have a very similar culture to Italy, and that shit is inappropriate. The parents are educating a horrible child that will grow up to be an asshole that thinks the world should cater to him. Oop, oh my goodness, the relief I am feeling right now to know that this isn't normal. So far I have not particularly felt like I have much authority because the times I would scold him, the parents are sitting right there and how can I reprimand him in front of his own parents? I didn't include this in the post but he is already showing major signs of being an asshole. He's always so rude, critical, and ungrateful. Every meal I make he has something to insult about it. He treats his little sister like shit even though she is a doll and often acts more mature than him, and he loves ordering me around and telling me what I'm doing wrong. It drives me up the wall. B186. We've established this kid's behavior is weird. But WTF at the parents responding to your request for privacy/curtains by giving them to the child. OOP, I have no clue. They've been really weird about some stuff. Like, this is TMI, but the mom knew I was on my period because I had to ask her where to buy tampons here and we got to the house and there's no trash can in the bathroom or in my room. I asked for one multiple times and she said she would get one and never did, and when I asked last she said, well the kids have a trash can in their room if you need it. Like WTF, are you not an adult woman? Do you not understand how this works? Do the parents discipline the kids? I asked about discipline when I interviewed and they said they don't really have to discipline the kids. I should have taken it as a warning sign. Honestly, the mom is very strict about some stuff, so they're very good in certain areas that she deems important. Etiquette, cleanliness, but when Dario picks on the daughter they just let the kids yell and scream and cry until I step in. They also seem to encourage many of Dario's rude comments because technically he does word them politely. For example, I will bust my ass making a meal for the whole family, to be kind and helpful, it is not in my job description. And Dario will eat 4 plates of it and then say, I'm sorry but why would you cook this like that? And I'll say, that's how we cook it in the US. And he'll say, well I didn't like it, the Italian way is much better, and then put his plate on mine for me to take it to the kitchen and leave. No thanks for cooking. No, but I did like this part. Just insult, clean my plate, bye. He loves to criticize. Is the child autistic? I thought about the autism initially but I'm fairly certain it isn't that because when his parents are gone the baby act completely turns off and he acts like any other teenager, albeit manipulative and critical, I have ever known, and I have worked in childcare, in the classroom, and as a coach for years now. Update, hi all, I'm back. Yeesh, how long has it been? 3-4 months later with an update. Long story short, I quit. Here's the long version for those interested. The curtain issue. Like I said in my last post, I had just hung a blanket for privacy and since then there have been no peeping issues. I asked 2 more times for curtains and was reassured both times that the curtain man would come to hang them in my room. He did come back once and hung more curtains in the kids' room, but again not in mine. Then I was told that they didn't like him and would be finding another curtain guy to hang my curtains. It's been 4 months, no more mention of it, I still use the blanket. The vacation issue, I have simply refused to go on vacation with them. I'm off on weekends and I've reached a point where I just refuse to be home for the entire weekend and manage not to see them from Friday night until Monday morning if I can help it. I go on weekend trips, crash on couches, sneak into my room when they're eating. Things like that just to avoid seeing anyone on my days off. The Dario issue. Dario still acts extremely immaturely. I've warmed up to him a lot, and I've figured out how to cut his rudeness and such. He's become a lot more positive and kind. Especially because his mom has been gone a lot and he's with me every day. I'm very upbeat and have worked really hard to get him to socialize and speak kindly. Unfortunately, he seems to have almost regressed in terms of his childish behavior. He still sits on laps, kisses a lot, and sleeps with a parent when the other is gone. The baby talk is constant. Constant. For example, he loves to repeat back butchered syllables of words if that makes sense. Like his dad will say, "Pasame un cuchillo." Pass me a spoon, and he will clap and exclaim, "Ayo," or "Voy del agua?" Do you want water? And he'll go, "Qua qua." He also has started eating kind of like a baby too. Like he'll take the remaining tomato sauce that we used on pasta and use the giant spoon to drink it out of the pot and get it all over his face, and then suck on each of his fingers. But when I look at his parents, they're looking at him like when you see a cute baby trying to use a fork and getting food on his face. But he's 13, so it's honestly sickening to watch and listen to. He won't lock the door when he goes to the bathroom or showers. Why? I started locking the door when I was like 7. And he even cried the other day when his sister sat on the foot of his bed. He doesn't like things touching his bed. And guess what? The parents got mad at the daughter, said it was her fault for baiting him, she just had to tie her shoe for a second, and declared that it's her fault. Dario will be upset all night. He also hasn't made any progress with friends and has taken to playing League of Legends, so he won't leave his room or do any activities or lessons with me or the sister. It's pretty sad, honestly. Basically, the hardest part of this whole thing has been the mother. I won't even go into it here, but she's honestly clinically insane, and I feel so bad for all the people in this house that have to put up with her. She's just a power-hungry, jealous, bitter woman who needs to see a professional. Basically, I went home for Christmas to be with my friends and family and realized how bad this experience was for my health. I was going out drinking almost every night to escape the house. I was sleeping horribly because I knew she was here and her presence gave me awful anxiety. I was getting yelled at every day even when I did nothing wrong. I was at home in the States and the thought of going back made me absolutely miserable. So when I came back, I told them I needed to go back early for medical reasons. Not totally untrue, and now I'm set to leave the last week of March. They've found a new girl. Look out for her post here sometime in the future. TLDR, Dario is still acting like a baby, the mom is still crazy, and I fucking quit. Homies, get me out of here. Sister-in-law secretly DNA tested my adopted daughter and accused me of raising an affair baby, so I laughed in her face. Original post, August 29, 2024. When you weigh 30 m, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my SIL saw an old picture of me, my friend and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that it was Lily's mother. SIL got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My SIL got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad. I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my SIL was the one who stuck her nose where it didn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So was I the asshole? Aita has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA. Did the brother's fiancé assume OOP was married to the deceased friend? OOP, I can see how she assumed that we were together. In the picture I had my arm around her shoulders. This was before my friend was married to her husband. At the time that picture was taken they were just friends. Commenter, I think you're a hero. I'm proud of you. If anything ever happens to me I know my daughter will be so loved and cared for and raised in a loving household. I hope somehow your friend and Lily's daddy are resting peacefully knowing she's got a papa that loves her. I'm going back to cutting onions now. OP, I appreciate that, a lot. I'm doing my best to raise Lily with the values and beliefs her mother and bio dad had and wanted to raise her with, even if some of them differ a bit from my own. Does OOP know what kind of DNA test Sil took for his daughter? OOP, I believe they were doing one of those home DNA kits, though I don't know what company they did it through. Commenter, NTA, she wanted to stir some shit up, that's a hell of a lot of effort to help. Also I'd be pissed about how she got Lily's DNA to do this. It didn't go the way she thought it would so she got mad. Your brother is just trying to side with his soon-to-be wife. Update, August 31st, 2024. TLDR spoiler. My brother thought I had been having an affair with Lily's mom and thought I was Lily's bio dad. He tricked Sil into believing that I was in a relationship with Lily's mom and was Lily's bio dad. Sil then saw the picture of Lily's mom and her husband, and assumed Lily was an affair child between the two of them and was being led on to believe that I was Lily's bio dad. My Sil ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. When I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mom were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mom told me that Lily was mine and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. SIL was under the impression I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mom and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mom, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course the results proved I wasn't Lily's bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he had lied about the circumstances, which is why Sil confronted me with the results. My SIL also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mom had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter she got angry thinking I was being led on to believe I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid, and she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. My SIL does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test, because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results, because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told Sil that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further, and said that me and Lily's mom were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents have been in low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I will forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mom died. Relevant comments. OOP on how Lily is handling all of those. Is she mad at her uncle and his fiancé? OOP. She was confused and I had to explain to her what SIL had said in terms she would understand. She was angry SIL would think that of her mom, And I had to explain that she had been lied to and didn't think that anymore. She's not mad at SIL anymore but doesn't want to ever talk to her uncle again. OOP on fatherhood since adopting Lily. OP, LOL, yes, I can admit that I'm definitely a lot softer since becoming a father. Adopting my daughter made me have to finally be mature, something I wasn't in my 20s when I adopted her. Commenter, both your brother and Sil are getting off too lightly. He butted into your family and lied to his wife. And sensitive issue or not, she still violated your daughter's privacy, then called her an affair child derisively in front of her. Commenter. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. Your brother is really showing his whole ass here. Your brother was both a terrible sibling and partner. He riled up his fiancée based on her trauma in order to enlist her to help in deceiving you. Awful. OP, I really want to stress this point, take the words right out my mouth. I'm not mad at my Sil because I know she was manipulated into doing this by my brother. I wish more people could understand that. Update 2. September 8, 2024. Update 2. SIL is now ex-Sil. I don't know if multiple updates are allowed for this sub. If not, take this down and I'll post to my profile. Some people were wondering what happened to my brother and Sil. Well, she dumped him. They tried to make it work, but that only lasted a few days and she ended up giving him the ring back. My brother got shit-faced drunk on my front lawn in the middle of the night. I was pissed because Lily had school the next morning and this woke her up. My brother was yelling insults to both me and my daughter. We called the police and he spent the night in jail for drunken disturbance. I believe the official charge was something like that. I sure as hell pressed charges because he was saying some borderline threatening statements to me and my daughter. I don't think it's enough to qualify for a restraining order, but if it is, I'll get a temporary one. On a more positive note, Lily is doing well. She's getting straight A's in even subjects and is excited about her first ever science project. She's been talking my ear off about it. Send help LOL. Comments. Commenter 1, good for you and your daughter. That was such a violation for you too. Unfortunately, the ex has to deal with her own personal demons. They are both sick. Commenter 2. It's unfortunate that your brother reacted so poorly to the breakup. It's great that you're prioritizing Lily's well-being and ensuring her safety. Hopefully your brother gets the help he needs to deal with his emotions in a healthier way. I was shocked when my boyfriend erased my novel ideas after 3 years. Our relationship on the brink of collapse. Original post. I've been working on a novel for about a year. I write every day, even just a sentence. 6 months ago my college switched to smartboards and put all their whiteboards in the garbage. I grabbed 2 because I have a huge wall space open in my living room. Most of my writing is done on my Google Drive, but I have things like character personalities, names, places, a general timeline, etc. You know, stuff I want to remember. I used to take photos of it so I had my ideas with me. I used to write on my lunch break. I stopped doing that because I burn myself out and my writing quality takes a huge dive. Plus my boyfriend helps me write and it helps us connect in such a deep way. So I haven't taken a photo in about 3 months. The whiteboards are nice because I can read my notes across the room while I'm sitting in my favorite chair. I got home last night and all of my stuff was erased. It was all a train of thought. Like I'd come home and jot something down. Handwriting is way more cathartic for me. I had sketches of things in the novel. I'd basically have to go through and remember every single thing on it. I have a lot of it stored in my head or on my Google Drive, but there are some things I'll never get back. But it's the fact he erased it. We don't live together. He told me I've been focusing too much on it and have no time for him. We hang out at my house 5-6 nights a week. I write while he plays video games. It's a good dynamic and I thought we enjoyed it. We are always laughing and he helps me with my wording and I Google stuff to help him in his game. This is the first time he's mentioned it bothering him. If he had brought it up, we could have talked about it, but he went nuclear and I have no idea why. I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. We have had one serious argument over his driving. He got better. My family took him on vacation a few weeks ago. We watch his nephew all the time. His family paid for my entire spring semester. We are so much a part of each other's lives and I feel so hurt and heartbroken. He's my muse and just the other day we went to the jewelry store to look at rings. My feelings rotate between rage, sadness, confusion, sorrow, anger. Everything. How do I even approach this? Last night I was so upset I asked him to leave. He hasn't texted, he hasn't called, he hasn't stopped by. I keep typing in questions to ask but I keep erasing them. Why did you do it? Are you unhappy with our relationship? What did I do? I'm even more heartbroken due to the fact he hasn't called or texted all day. I'm afraid to call him. I don't want to hear him say he thinks we should break up, or he doesn't want to be with me when I'm writing. Or just ignore my call. TLDR, boyfriend erased the whiteboard I use for my novel writing. He hasn't contacted me at all since it happened. I'm totally lost and heartbroken and angry. How do I possibly handle this? Top comment. 4B3ATS, holy crap. As a fellow writer, I'd be livid if I were you. This is the first time he's mentioned it bothering him. If this is true, and he jumps straight to sabotage, this is fucked up. It's messed up regardless because I'm sure your boyfriend knows how important this work is to you. Like, for him to not try to talk to you about this, after 3 years, is mind-boggling. Who does this? Text him the dreaded "we need to talk" message. Ask him when he's available, and have him come over to use his words like a goddamn adult. Also, take his key away or change your locks if you don't want to be that upfront about it. He lost his privileges. TBH though, in all sincerity, IDK if this is something I could move past. It comes off as so cruel. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he chose to go into your home when you weren't there because he knew he was doing something wrong. He either knows he fucked up, or he feels as though he's in the right, and that's why he hasn't reached out to you. I'm shocked and appalled on your behalf, OP. Relevant comments. The darkest beer, this was an unbelievably fucked up way to deal with those feelings. I hate your boyfriend right now. Remember in Little Women when Amy burns Joe's book because Joe wouldn't let her come to the theater with her? That was pretty messed up, but ultimately Amy was a child, and she would grow up and be better. Your boyfriend can't do better than the most hated March sister. He's showing you that when he doesn't get his way, he will punish you and destroy the things you care about. This isn't an isolated incident. It's an important piece of information about his character. If he comes back with a massive apology and a plan for how he's going to deal with his feelings in the future in a non-destructive way, then maybe I'd say it's worth a conversation about continuing this relationship. Oop, I actually haven't read Little Women, but I ordered it for my Kindle. It's just so out of the blue that I wonder if there's something going on with him beyond what he said. I don't know. Bubblegum Cannibal. This is really fucked up. As another fellow writer, I honestly would have broken down. That's so much work just down the drain just because you wanted to get your work completed. It's ridiculous. Honestly, if it were me, I'd have to fistfight the guy after I've stopped crying over destroyed work. Going with what 4B3 it said, definitely take his key away. There's no doghouse or, you can get this back when you earn it back about it. I've personally been in this situation where I've had my old novella notebooks used in a grill fire, and with truth, I've never accepted the apologies. The person isn't even a friend to me anymore. Not saying you should dump him or break ties with him in general, oh not at all. However, I do say there should be a conversation about the relationship here somewhere. If he can't handle you being immersed in something you've put years into, something you love, he's not ready to date any type of creator, to be quite honest. It's scary that he honestly thought that destroying anything that looked remotely important was the best thing to do in the situation. But when you regain yourself, try and retrace your steps now that he's hiding from you. Try and rebalance your world building, some new things might even come out of it. Keep your head up, friend, and hopefully you can pull back some information and crawl back from there. It'll be difficult, but you can do it, OP. OOP, he stood there and he seemed so, I don't know. Proud, happy, vindicated. I've had my jaw dropped once before in my entire life, to the ventriloquist girl who was on America's Got Talent LOL, I didn't know it was an actual feeling of shock awe. It did last night right before I blanked out and woke up face down on my bed asking him to leave. OOP edited the post edit. Holy cuss, you guys. I am absolutely overwhelmed. I'm not even sure what to say. I asked a girlfriend if I could come over and talk, so we are getting some wine and a pizza. Update. It's been about 3 months since I made my post. This somehow seems like it got really long. The night I made my post I went to a friend's house and she ordered a pizza, we got ice cream, and a bottle of wine. She's a straight shooter, takes a neutral approach, and she gives solid relationship advice, so I felt comfortable talking to her about everything. She couldn't figure out why he'd done it. We went over how he and I hung out, how much he seemed to care about me, how we looked into each other's eyes. But it also revealed a lot of hesitation on my part. I'm a positive person and tend to forgive faults, or overlook them. I suspect it's some sort of coping method from my childhood. We had some unresolved issues I think he was holding in, but when I'd bring them up he'd just get kind of salty and go, "It's fine, I don't care anymore." But he'd bring them up in arguments. I didn't realize how toxic it was. That same night I told him I was coming over the next day to talk about things. I told him I'd be over around 11 and the only thing he texted me was "okay," which I didn't respond to. I went over to his house at 11 and he was still asleep. He got upset when I woke him up. It took the wind out of my sails. On a good day I cry if something upsets me, but I was so angry and heartbroken I couldn't even think. I left without saying a word to him. He didn't follow me. On my way out I went to the kitchen and took my house key from his keyring. I drove home in a daze, collected all his things, put them in a box on my porch, and texted him to come get them. He said, "What the hell? That's fine, I'll come by later and pick them up." I went out with a few girlfriends. We got drunk and had some amazing food. It made me feel better, but when I got home and his things were gone, I was heartbroken. I never texted him. He never texted me. I got absolutely no closure, and even though people say closure is bullshit, I've had the hardest time moving on. It's been 3 months and I still cry in the shower sometimes. Even though I broke up with him, I still feel so confused and heartbroken. I never figured out why he did what he did, I likely never will, and I miss his help and companionship. I'd love to come here and say I finished my book. But I haven't written much since. I can't get into my character's head anymore. There's a feeling of loneliness and grief, and that sort of helped me create a better outline. But I can't write about my characters. The other day I went to the bookstore to study. I ended up looking at books related to time travel and found one that has thousands of positive reviews. My novel is science fiction and I've been trying to think of how to incorporate time travel. So it kind of lined up perfectly. It turns out a lot of my ideas mirror theoretical physics. It's eerie. I've never taken physics or read about it. Suddenly string theory makes sense, cosmology makes sense. I'm blown away and it makes me feel so weird that so much of my plot has been studied so in depth. The book has lit a fire under me. Reading more about everything makes me so excited and it's helped me really flesh out my plot. I can't put it down and read 20 or so pages a night. I haven't actually made time to sit and read a book for years. I always have a notebook with me now, so I write my ideas down. I haven't written about my characters yet, but my passion is back. My plot is making more sense. Now I don't care much about how we broke up, I'm not confused. I sometimes get sad at night or during the day, or if I go out and make prolonged eye contact with a guy. I haven't thought about dating and I'm still too hurt to pursue it. But every day I move on a little bit more. I wanted to thank everyone who gave me advice. I forgot about my post until just now, and when I went back through the Reddit, it made me realize how seriously messed up it was. And it gave me closure. Thank you. TLDR. My ex-boyfriend erased my ideas for a book. I broke up with him and haven't heard from him at all, and had trouble finding closure. I had trouble writing for the last few months, but recently got that fire back in my belly. It took some time, but I found myself again. Am I the asshole for exposing my dad's girlfriend after she tried to kick me out and faked a pregnancy? I'm M20, and I was a former foster kid. I was never adopted before I aged out, but I was placed with Joe when I was 10, and we were long-term matched by the time I was 14. Joe's the only real family I've ever had, and I consider him my dad. Even though the whole adoption thing never happened. When I first moved in with Joe, he was married, but his wife passed away suddenly when I was 12. That was tough on both of us, but we managed to get through it together. Now, Joe's been dating his current girlfriend, Sarah, for about 2 years. She didn't come over much, and when she did it was pretty brief. But 3 weeks ago she moved into our house because she lost her job and couldn't afford rent anymore. I don't know if she was always like this or if moving in has brought out a different side of her, but Sarah's been acting really strange. Whenever Joe isn't around, she completely ignores me, won't even look at me when I speak, won't answer questions, nothing. At first I thought it might be some kind of anxiety thing. But now it started getting worse. For example, when Joe's at work and I'm in the lounge watching a movie, she'll come in and start blasting TikTok on her phone or playing music, totally disregarding the fact that I'm there. When I ask her to turn it down, she just flat out ignores me. And it's not just the ignoring that's the problem. She started saying some pretty nasty stuff about me too. She FaceTimed her friend while I was in the room and talked about how lazy I am and how I don't contribute anything to the household. Yesterday, I was sitting on the sofa watching the new Deadpool movie when she came and sat across from me, FaceTiming her friend again. She started talking about how she and Joe are trying for a baby and how excited they are because neither of them have had children before. Those exact words. It felt like a slap in the face. I know Joe wouldn't have said something like that because he considers me his son. So either she's making it up, or I don't even know what. I haven't told Joe about the things she's been saying to her friend because I don't want to mess up his first real relationship since his wife died. But this situation is seriously eating me up inside. I mentioned the situation to a few people and a couple of them suggested that I secretly record her behavior when Joe isn't around so that he can see what's really going on. It seemed like a good idea at first, but when I talked to one of my close friends about it, he said that secretly recording her could just make things worse. He thinks it might make Joe feel like I'm going behind his back and could cause even more tension, especially if Sarah twists it to make me look bad. So, WABTA, if I secretly recorded her to show Joe what she's really like, or should I just avoid it altogether? I don't want to seem like I'm trying to sabotage his relationship, but I'm not sure what else to do. Relevant comments. November 8485. You need to talk to Joe. You can record it in case he doesn't believe you, but you need to talk to him ASAP. And you might also have to work on your exit plan in case it backfires, which it can. People in love do strange things at times. NTA. OOP. I don't think Joe would ever kick me out, but you're right, I should have a backup plan just in case. Call 20. So many parents kick out kids when a new relationship forms and the kid doesn't get on with the new spouse. Don't be blindsided by something that is a huge possibility. You're an adult. Joe's GF could have the very easy argument that you're an adult and need to move out so they can work on furthering their relationship. Having a child together would absolutely be a reason he would side with her. NTA, out of curiosity, you have only explained that you lounge and watch TV. Are you contributing to the household in any way? If Joe's GF is contributing to the household, I can see why she would have an issue floating with you. OOP, well, I'm still at college. Americans would call this high school. But it's summer. As a foster care leaver, Joe is paid £300 per week by the government to support me until I finish. This will carry on until I finish university or until I'm 25, whichever is first. I also get universal credit, which I use for most of my expenses. OOP goes on to state, high school usually ends at 18 here also, but I've had to redo some learning that I missed. Huge_Lime 826, get your ass off the couch and contribute to the home. Seems to me you are too stupid to realize that he will pick his girlfriend bedmate over a 20-year-old taking up space and pissing off his hot girlfriend. You don't realize it, but unless you start contributing, your days are numbered. So you're off school for the summer. Why don't you have a job to go to every day instead of sitting your ass on the couch? OP, who hurt you? Huge_Lime 826, nobody hurt me. But I did have enough common sense to get my ass off the couch and not play video games as a 20-year-old and then bitch about somebody who actually is contributing to the household. If he doesn't believe the girlfriend is more important to Joe than he is, he has blinders on. Just wait until she has a baby. He needs to wake up and get his ass off the couch and contribute to the family. 20 years old is not a time to be sitting on the couch playing video games to get a job. Automatic_mirror_825. It's time to fly out of the nest, find a job, and/or college. Build your own life. You are an adult, young, male, with lots of opportunities. Sorry_I_guess responding to automatic_mirror_825. This young man didn't have a stable home until he was 10. He went through a traumatic childhood, and his life's trajectory is not the same as most people's, so developmentally it may be important for him to take a little longer to feel safe and confident. Hell, he's still finishing his secondary education due to those complications. And you have literally no idea what opportunities he does or doesn't have. As long as his father is happy to have him there, who are you to tell him he needs to leave home? What a shitty, presumptuous thing to say. Silent Prune 8103. Going to school isn't contributing to the household. Doing chores, taking out the trash, preparing dinner, doing laundry, sweeping the floors, vacuuming, doing repairs around the house. Contributing to the sustainment of your family's home and health of it so it doesn't burden others. That's my responsibility. If she finds herself or Joe doing all of this, then I would be annoyed as well. You're an adult. As an adult, you should be contributing without being told the responsibilities of maintaining the home. I would say getting a job as well at your age. Many folks go to school and have a part-time job, but if that's not the case, you can help around the house. I guarantee if you're doing those things, Joe and possibly her will have a different positive opinion of you. Update. I decided to talk to Joe directly instead of secretly recording Sarah. I thought it would be more mature, sensible, and non-confrontational to handle things face to face. My mindset was that if he didn't take it seriously, then I'd consider recording to show him what was really going on. When Joe got home from work, I asked him to talk privately in my room. He seemed a bit confused at first, but I made it clear that I wasn't trying to sabotage his relationship. I just needed to tell him that some things Sarah was doing were making me uncomfortable. I reminded him about how she ignores me and mentioned how she plays videos while I'm watching TV, But when I told him, she said that he didn't have any children and that they were trying for a baby, he looked really upset. It felt a bit awkward, but Joe called Sarah into the room to talk with us. He asked her if what I said was true and she immediately denied it. You could see from her body language that she was lying. I'm not sure if she just never expected me to say anything about how she's been treating me or what. Joe firmly told her that this is my house, not hers, and that while she's a guest here, she can't be disrespecting me. Things got a little heated, and in the end, she apologized to me, though it was through gritted teeth. I accepted the apology, even though I'm not sure it was genuine. After that, Joe asked if I was still comfortable with her staying with us. I said I was because I didn't want to break them up. I just wanted to tell him what was happening. However, she decided to stay at her friend's house for the night, which made the situation feel even more tense. I can tell Joe is really upset now, and I feel super guilty for making him feel this way. He insists it's not my fault and we ended up having kebabs for tea, but even so I can't shake the feeling that I've caused a huge fight between them. Joe went to bed early, and now I'm stuck feeling bad about the whole situation. I just hope that whatever happens next, things will settle down. Thank you everyone. Update 2. So, about a month ago, things seemed to be getting better, at least on the surface. Joe and Sarah got back together, and I gave them my blessing because Joe really wanted it to work. Sarah even moved back into the house, and she was actually being decent to me, which was a change. But honestly, I always felt like she was just putting on an act. I had this nagging feeling that she still didn't like me and was only being nice because her other option was to be homeless. It all went downhill really fast though. Less than a week after moving back in, Sarah announced that she was pregnant with Joe's baby. And that's when the real chaos started. She dropped this ultimatum on Joe. Either I move out, or she'd break up with him and make it impossible for him to be involved with the baby. Joe was torn because he didn't want her or the baby to be homeless, but he also made it clear that I wasn't going anywhere. I'm his family, and he wouldn't kick me out for anything. So Joe told Sarah that they'd have to break up for good after she gave him the ultimatum. He even kicked her out again. That's when things got even crazier. Sarah started messaging Joe, saying she was going to get an abortion because she couldn't afford to be pregnant. Joe, being the good guy he is, offered to send her money and even pay for her rent so she wouldn't be homeless, but she kept playing games. Anyway, I was borrowing Joe's iPad one day and I saw that Sarah's iMessage was still linked to it. I accidentally stumbled across her messages to a friend where she admitted she wasn't pregnant at all. She was just lying to get money from Joe and had this whole plan to drag him along for months before pretending to get an abortion. She even said she was going to make Joe's life miserable because he kicked her out. I felt sick to my stomach reading those messages. I took a screen recording of the entire chat, including the phone numbers and everything so she couldn't deny it or say that it was faked. When I showed Joe, he was completely heartbroken. He's stopped sending her money, but now he's unsure about what to do next. He's even thinking of reporting her to the police for fraud. But part of him just wants to cut her out of his life completely and move on. I've never seen Joe this hurt, and I feel so guilty because I know all of this is stressing him out. I'm still in shock over how horrible Sarah turned out to be. Even with everything that's happened before, I never thought she'd do something this low. Now, we're just trying to figure out how to move forward from all of this. My friends didn't invite me to their wedding, then made me the bad guy when I couldn't attend at the last minute. Original post. Sorry for the long story, I added a TL.dr. I'm definitely looking for advice, but it comes with a backstory. A friend, Greg 28, in my circle of friends met Shannon 28, about 5 years ago and they immediately hit it off. Everybody instantly fell in love with Shannon because she's friendly and really fun to hang out with. They were everybody's favorite couple and really made our hangouts much more fun. We all knew they were perfect for each other. They both made our crew that much better. The engagement was expected but much welcome news. Our friend's circle was buzzing about the inevitable wedding. Then the invitations went out. You know those save the date magnets that people send out? Well, it really sucked seeing them on everybody else's fridge when I visited friends knowing I didn't get one and wasn't invited. Feeling left out really sucks. But it gets worse. I completely understand how stressful wedding planning is and I believe nobody should feel that they have to invite people they don't want to their wedding. It's their day and their ceremony and they shouldn't have to have people there who they don't want there. I didn't cause a fuss or express to anyone that I was hurt, that I felt excluded from the wedding and by extension, excluded from the group. I didn't want to be looked on in an even worse way that I feel I was apparently being looked at. But one friend actually stood up for me. When their wedding came up in conversation and people talked about booking flights and rooms, destination wedding in New York City. Eventually I was asked if I had booked yet. I said, me and my girlfriend, Weren't invited. Nobody could believe it, but I insisted that I wasn't upset because I know how situations like this can go. I didn't want to cause trouble because then the happy couple might resent me. Then I'd be the bad guy. I heard through other friends that my friend Tracy thought it was really messed up that I wasn't invited. She and I never spoke of how I wasn't invited to the wedding, but she really felt a certain way about it. So a month before the destination wedding, I got a text from Greg basically saying sorry for forgetting to send an invite, but that they would love to have us come to the wedding. It was way too late at that point for me. I couldn't get away from my job, and I didn't have a chance to put money aside for a year for an expensive NYC destination wedding like everyone else did. I didn't even get a save the date. Every flight and hotel, no rooms where everyone else was staying, obviously. Too late for that, was unaffordable for me. I texted him back that I couldn't make it. The wedding came and went and I felt bad about everything. I saw the Facebook pictures of my friends all having the time of their lives. It looked like a great wedding. There's even a picture of just the group of friends labeled the crew. I don't think I've ever felt so left out, honestly. It really made me feel worthless and unwanted. So naturally the typical thoughts surfaced. They don't like you. They think you're annoying. They think you're an asshole. If you can't identify the schmuck in a group of friends, that means you're it. They think you try way too hard to be nice and think you're a phony. Then, as if it couldn't get any worse, Shannon messaged me on Facebook asking why I didn't RSVP and said they missed me at the wedding. RSVP. RSVP. Doesn't one have to be invited in order to RSVP? Everybody got a year to prepare between getting save the dates and actual wedding invitations. I got a text message a month before the wedding. Just as I feared, I'm being made out to be the bad guy, and I even made a point to keep my feelings to myself and play it cool. But as usual, I didn't say this to her because I know how I would end up looking. I actually apologized for, I don't even know. But I made a point to mention how I spoke with Greg about it. I also made sure to compliment the wedding pictures and say it looked like fun. I did everything I could in that conversation to make it easier on her, and of course now I feel like a total schmuck. That was this past summer and I haven't seen them since. I feel like that's it for me in the group now. I see some of the friends in our group every now and then, but everything feels different now. None of them even responded to my birthday party Facebook invite this month. I feel like things are being said behind the scenes and I feel completely out of the loop. It felt like a passive-aggressive message that maybe Greg and Shannon never actually liked me. My fiancé gets along great with Shannon and she's just confused. Seeing her confusion just makes my heart break even more because she's a sweetheart who's never offended anybody in her life. I wish I could break it to her that I'm just the guy in the group that Greg and Shannon think sucks, but I don't know how, and I feel like a complete loser who deserves this. I'll always appreciate Tracy for sticking up for me. She may never know how awesome it feels hearing about how she told everybody it was messed up that I was left out. I haven't even spoken to her about how the whole thing made me feel, or anybody for that matter. Reddit, you are the first to hear about it, because I didn't want it to appear like I'm making a stink and become even more disliked. This whole thing just fucking sucks. I feel like I don't have friends anymore. And to make it worse, soon I'll have a wedding of my own and I'm afraid I won't have any friends there, except for Tracy, of course. How am I supposed to handle who I invite so it doesn't seem like I'm leaving people out for petty revenge? How the hell do I navigate a toxic situation that I had no hand in creating? I still feel like I'm in the dark or could be overreacting. What the hell? TL.er, friends forgot or chose not to invite me to their wedding. After a friend stuck up for me, I was invited via text message, with little notice, had to decline, then asked why I didn't RSVP and that I was missed. Soon I'll have my own wedding to plan and don't feel like I have any friends to invite, don't know if I should invite certain people, don't know how to even approach the situation I didn't create. Relevant comments, deleted. Dude, you clearly tell them you are not respected like the others. Cut them out, this is about self-respect. Find new friends, don't turn back. OOP, thanks for reading and responding. Yeah, I've been thinking, I guess I can have my younger brother be the best man and just not have groomsmen, considering the circumstances. It's just fucked how I did everything I could to avoid looking like the bad guy, yet here we are. I'm the bad guy regardless of anything I did. Doc. Just that totally sucks. I would be hurt too. Do you think maybe Greg was in charge of sending invites to his friends and forgot? Or it got lost in the mail? I had an invite returned to me 1 month after I sent it, but thankfully I'd sent a save the date and sent my invite super early, so it ended up being fine, but if I hadn't, one of my cousins might have incorrectly thought she was excluded. It sounds like Shannon, at least, thought you were sent an invite if she was upset you didn't RSVP. You actually did RSVP by texting Greg back, but it sounds like she thought you'd been sent an RSVP response card. OOP. Yeah, it could just be a simple misunderstanding, But word seemed to get around early that I didn't get a save the date and even later didn't get an invite either. Tracy especially seemed to make sure everybody was aware that she wasn't happy about my exclusion. The other friends I spoke to didn't even suggest that it could have been a mistake, almost like they knew something I didn't but didn't feel comfortable saying it. Only one person even spoke up on my behalf. Update. I half took everyone's advice and brought it up with Tracy. She just confirmed that Shannon was full of shit when she asked me why she didn't get my RSVP and wanted to absolve herself of guilt. I'm not sure if they forgot or if I just wasn't invited yet, but Tracy said we'd talk about it more tonight when she gets out of work. Final update. I spoke about it in depth with Tracy. It turns out Greg's best man, someone who was never in the gang but grew up with Greg, always hated me and Greg thinks I'm annoying. Shannon later felt bad they chose not to invite me and pressured him to invite me over text knowing I wouldn't be able to make it. Also, it wasn't only Tracy who thought it was wrong that I didn't get an invite, and the chatter is what made Shannon ask me why I didn't RSVP, to make it seem like my invite was lost in the mail. It feels better knowing this because, like I said, they don't have to have people they don't want at their wedding. But knowing Greg doesn't like me fucking hurts because I always thought we were friends. Turns out he's the phony. Unfortunately, everybody else, except for Tracy and a few others, liked Greg more than me, so they kinda felt like they had to choose a side after Tracy. And a few others, it turns out, brought up why I didn't get invited. Lots of people are feeling guilty about this, apparently. They still felt like they had to choose a side for whatever reason. Probably because most of them went to high school with Greg. Oh well, that's life. Thanks for the advice about being more assertive. Those of you who were polite about it were very helpful. Thanks. Relevant comments, deleted. Yeah, you don't need those two-faced assholes in your life. Congratulations on finding out before they borrowed money from you. When they get divorced, you can reach out to Greg and tell him that he deserves it. OP, it's funny you bring up borrowing money because they're the type who always want to split the check when they order the most expensive shit and always say, "I'll get you back." And I don't trust Venmo. I'll just give you cash when I go to the ATM, and don't. On the plus side, I don't have to pay for part of their steak and lobster dinners anymore. Will OOP invite Greg, Shannon and the best man to his wedding? I don't think it would be right to force anybody to choose sides, because that feels inappropriate to do to friends. I think everybody who stood up for me gets an invite. Greg can have his best man and be the cynical bastards they are together. Honestly, nobody really likes the best man all that much because he's always acted like an obnoxious asshole when he's been around us. They can have each other when told to talk to Greg directly and get it from the source, actually got confirmation, and an apology, from someone else. Not everybody was cool with it, but she's the only one who really has a spine and spoke up for me. Turns out they fucked up and caused all kinds of drama between people in the group. Some people wanted to keep me out of the loop so I wouldn't feel insulted. I kinda get it, but it just makes me appreciate Tracy more. Final comments from OOP Ryra Jin. In this situation you aren't the bad guy from my perspective, and to be honest, a destination wedding is a dick move on your friend's part. The sheer inconvenience of one is like dick move supreme. Especially the fact they chose NYC, WTF. Plus some people turn into assholes after marriage, and statistically speaking, your married male friend is going to be spending more time with his wife now than his friends. In some ways marriage is like high school. You go to it with your friends for a little while, then you start to drift away from another by barely communicating. OOP Shannon is from up there and she wanted to be closer to her family. Yeah, it turns out they didn't want me there and felt pressured once some of my friends realized. I guess it was easier to make the decision when it was just the two of them and they lost confidence in the choice when people found out. Ryra Jin, I feel it's best to let the consequences of this affect them, and just move on. OOP. Yeah. Hopefully they learn from this and aren't such assholes in the future. I don't see Greg ever changing from the cynical and negative guy he is, but you never know. My boyfriend admitted he wishes I was still fat after I lost weight, and I'm so king pissed to process his hurtful confession. Original post. I, 21F, have been dating my boyfriend Adam, 28M, for almost 3 years now. I feel like some context is needed to accurately describe our situation. When I was 15, my older brother passed away in a car accident and it threw me into a depression where I became very overweight. He was my best friend and meant the world to me. Losing him led me into the worst years of my life. A few months after I turned 18, I met Adam. He was one of my friend's older brother and we hit it off. He's smart, charismatic, and I loved his sense of humor. Adam is also heavy, but he was so comfortable in his skin it really made me admire his confidence. I couldn't stand to even look at myself in a mirror, so this last year I buckled down and lost a very significant amount of weight, and now I'm even below my high school weight. I've never been this fit in my life and I feel so good about myself. My 21st birthday was this last Saturday and Adam and my friends had planned a party for me. Unfortunately, Adam had a family emergency, so he wasn't going to be around for my birthday. I was completely okay with this and reassured him that it was fine when I drove him to the airport. My friend Andrea recommended that we should instead go to a strip club, and I thought that was an amazing idea. I'd like to reiterate that it would have been a woman's only strip club. The next time I talked to Adam, I told him about the change in plans and he was very adamant that he didn't want me to go. He said it wasn't that he didn't trust me, it's that he didn't trust my friends. I ended up dropping the subject to not cause him further stress, and we ended up just having the party they originally planned. Adam arrived today and I felt something was off. Something has been off since I lost weight. I kept badgering him until he finally opened up. We talked and he eventually told me that we don't even look like we belong together anymore. He brought up an instance where we were at the grocery store a week ago and a guy was asking me questions about watermelons in the fruit section. It was a casual conversation, but he referred to my boyfriend as my brother and I quickly corrected him. The guy apologized, said we looked similar and walked off. At the time my boyfriend laughed it off and didn't bring it up again. He then said something that pissed me off so bad. He said, "Sometimes I wish you were still big so no one else would want you." I lost all sympathy and quickly corrected him. I told him even when I was a big girl guys hit on me all the time, and just like I always do I told them I have a boyfriend that I love. He looked dumbfounded when I said this. Elle told him how fucked it was that he wishes that I was back at the size where I was depressed and hated myself. He told me he misspoke and I'm blowing things out of proportion. We argued more and he ended up leaving to his brothers to give me space. I've been sitting here just pissing myself off about what he said. Did he really think I was that unattractive when I was bigger? If so, why did he date me? Did he think I was desperate to be with someone because I was so fat? I just need some third-party advice. Am I overreacting? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, Enor. And he was a 25-year-old seeking out an 18-year-old to date. Trust that when you're 25 you'll see how big a gap that is. He was probably dating someone that much younger than him because girls his age didn't want him and he thought you'd be easier to control. Even if this wasn't an active thought, the second you took control of your body by losing weight he was unhappy. A good partner hypes you up when you achieve something you wanted, they don't try to cut you down. This dude is not worth the time of day. OOP. Well, all I know is that his previous relationship lasted 5 years and it was a girl he dated in college. I never really considered that he had the intention to control me and I really hope that isn't the case. This is the first comment he's really made that cut me down, but now that I think about it you are right, he hasn't really hyped me up either. Commenter 2. You are 21 and feeling good about yourself. Maybe it's time to lose about 300 pounds more of dead weight and leave the guy that snatched up an 18-year-old when he was 25 because he thought no one else wanted her. Update 1. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for giving me their opinions and advice, it really means a lot to me. I debated if I should post again, but I need an outlet to vent. I've been laying here in the dark and I've read basically all the comments and I think an update is warranted. Basically, Adam and I are taking a break and I've been crying my eyes out for the last few hours. He came home today and we both agreed that we need to talk and get everything out in the open. He started off by apologizing for what he said, particularly the, "Sometimes I wish you were still big so no one else would want you" part. I asked if he thought I was unattractive when I was bigger and he said no, but he doesn't understand why I'm dieting and exercising the way I am. Adam said I shouldn't have to cook 2 different meals and should just eat what he does, and me going to the gym 6 times a week is obsessive. I told him that it makes me happy, bettering myself, and he said that it has completely changed me. Adam went on to talk about how all I really care about is my looks now. He said he liked my hair how it used to be before I went to a stylist. He liked how I used to paint my own nails instead of getting them done and how I used to never wear makeup instead of how I have to have some on now before I go out. Adam then said he knows I lost weight because I was unhappy with myself, but he was always happy with me and he doesn't understand why I have to keep trying to make myself hotter when I was already hot. We talked back and forth, but it felt like I was just doing everything wrong. Adam said that I don't ever want to do things he enjoys anymore, like play video games with him or binge watch movies, and he feels like I'm a different person. I have pushed him to go on walks with me or go to the gym in the past, but he's told me no, so I figured we just had our different hobbies. I feel bad because I see from his point of view I have changed and I may not be the girl he fell in love with. I told him I love him and he said he loves me too, but we need to separate for a bit and figure out if we're best for each other. I didn't argue, I just said okay and let him pack his things and leave. He's letting me stay in the apartment until I can move my stuff out. I've been crying my eyes out and everything feels like a blur. I don't know where to go from here and I feel like I ruined my first real relationship. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You didn't really mention in your original post that you had started focusing so much on how you look besides your fitness regime. Or that you had stopped enjoying the same activities, for example gaming and movie binging. This isn't a criticism of you, but it does indeed sound like you have changed significantly from the person he knew, so perhaps separation was not a terrible idea. You are very young, I know it sounds cliché, but you will find someone else who you're more compatible with in future. It hurts right now, but you just need time. Be strong. OOP, well at the time it felt like me changing my appearance wasn't so much of an issue since he never complained about it, but I see now I was wrong. Now replaying everything in my mind, his reactions have always been indifferent whenever I would show off my hair or nails to him. I still would play video games and watch movies with him, but it wasn't as often as it used to be. For a time that's all we did every day. I do appreciate your input and I know it may sound dumb, but I'm holding out hope we work things out. Commenter 2, taking a break? What the hell does that mean? Are you single or taken? Can you have a hookup or not see other people? Look, good luck, but you're going to get hit on and realize you're missing out on a lot of fun. I'm surprised he asked for the break. Seems he would be extremely worried that you will meet someone new and leave him. OP. From what he said, he wants us to take some time apart and connect again. I was also confused by what this meant for us, but he doesn't want us to see other people for now. I know most people are suggesting we split up, but I get this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when I consider it. Update 2. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who reached out. Your support has meant so much to me. To get to the point, I broke up with Adam a few days ago and I'm still trying to process everything that happened. Things have been hectic and I'm settling into my new situation. Last week I had decided it was time for me to move out of the apartment. Adam made it clear that our relationship wasn't going to improve unless we took time apart, and as bad as I felt, I knew he wasn't going to come back until I was gone. I knew I wasn't going to be able to move all my stuff by myself, so I decided to ask a coworker if they could help me. The only heavy things I had were basically my bed frame and dresser, the rest were just boxes and suitcases full of clothes. Last Monday I asked my coworker David if he could help me move my stuff into my parents' garage. I know he used to work for a moving company and he has a truck, so I was hoping he could do it for $100 LOL. I showed him pictures of my stuff and he said he would just have to take apart my bed frame, but yeah, he could do it on Thursday, which was his next day off. I didn't have that day off, but I had PTO to cover it, so it was fine. Thursday comes and David shows up to the apartment. I show him where everything is and he goes out to his truck to get his tools. It wasn't more than like a minute or two when I hear Adam's voice yelling, "Did you fuck my girlfriend?" I immediately go into the living room and see David with his hands up looking very confused and Adam asking him, "Did you fuck her?" I swear this was the most humiliating thing that has ever happened to me. I could feel my face get red. I go over and grab Adam's hand and pull him into the bedroom. He's freaking out asking if David is the guy I've been seeing. I told him he's crazy and that David is my coworker and he's only here to help me move my stuff. He said he didn't believe me and he wanted to see my phone. I told him I didn't have anything to hide, but if he goes through my phone, that's a deal breaker for me. He waited a second before taking my phone and going through it. I stood there watching him open up all my socials, all my texts, and even scroll through all of my pictures. It was almost like a light switch went off in my head and whatever love I had for him was gone. I felt disgusted. I told him that I was breaking up with him and he looked shocked. He started apologizing and said he was coming over to tell me not to move out and that he wants me to stay with him, but he just freaked out when he saw me here with a guy. That's when I realized that Adam knows I work on Thursdays, so why was he even over here? I asked him this, but he just kept apologizing and begging me to not leave him. Something in me finally snapped and I screamed at him to get out. I've been mad before, but I've never screamed at anyone like that. He just stared at me, turned around and left. I immediately picked up my phone and blocked him. I found David in his truck and apologized to him and asked if he could still help me, and he said of course. After we had everything put up in my parents' garage, I went to pay him and he said instead I could buy him lunch. I took him up on the offer because it would be cheaper than $100 and I suggested Applebee's LOL. It was nice getting to vent to someone who saw how crazy Adam was firsthand. After we were done, he went and paid and said I can get him next time. The breakup didn't really hit me until the next day, and even though I cried my eyes out, it felt good, like I got this huge weight off my chest. To be honest, it's almost scary how okay I'm feeling about it all. Maybe it hasn't fully sunk in yet and I'll miss him when it does, but for now I feel fine. Thank you to everyone who's given their advice and helped me. I'm pretty sure this is my last update unless something crazy happens. Top comments. Commenter 1, woo. The fact that he was there when he knew you were meant to be working is a huge red flag. Is he tracking you because WTF? Stay safe. Commenter 2, You need to check your stuff for air tags. It's super sus that he knew to be at the house when you were. After my pregnant Sil ignored my son's severe allergy and brought peanut-based snacks into our home, I threw them out. Am I the asshole? Hello, this is a throwaway account and a repost and update of sorts because my post got taken down from the other Am I the Asshole sub. My brother and his wife Laura, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so since he's interviewing for jobs in the city my family and I are in. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around and everything's been great. Yesterday, Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her but told her that we don't expect them to do this, the kitchen is stocked and that we're just enjoying having them. She said that she wanted to and that most were cravings she's been having. I started helping her unload the bags and noticed that a lot of snacks were with peanuts, cookies, crackers, PB, even some sort of cake fusion. It all made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son, 8M, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything of the kind in our home because we've had an incident when he was younger, where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude but I told her that I'm not comfortable with having the stuff in the house. She told me that she would be careful, that she wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings and that she'd clean up after herself, that she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids and kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something, but every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to leave her alone when she's eating them. That was that. Today, I woke up early to make breakfast and opened the fridge only to be greeted by strawberries dipped in PB left out without a container to chill. The PB jar wasn't sealed properly next to them and there were sandwiches on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was pissed. I've read enough about airborne contamination to know that you can't really determine it, but I wasn't risking it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything in it, our groceries, hers, I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter and let them know the situation. Laura woke up while I was on my rampage, came down and asked all upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't try to hide it. We got in an argument with her defensively saying that I can't do this, that the baby needs it and that it's cruel to put a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I told her bluntly that I don't give a single fuck, if she can't keep to her word then I won't either and that she'll live without her craving. My son can't say the same with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bag and came back down, grabbed the bag of food and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask me what happened. He was upset with his wife but also with me because nothing happened and at the end of the day, my son is fine. I told my husband when he came back from work and he's completely on my side. Aita, mini update. Like some people had predicted in the comments on the other sub, Laura did go straight to my family and started complaining. She hadn't twisted anything, told them the full honest story and my mother was livid. She called me panting like she ran a marathon after she berated Laura to make sure my son is okay, so I can only imagine the riot act she read to her. Apparently, even my stepdad gave Laura one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his stuff since Laura had only packed hers for some reason. He apologized for what she did and said that he'll have a chat with her once she's calmed down. She's been inconsolable. He told me that she's been crying since she left my mom's house and that she now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family and he blames me for it. My husband butted in and told him that it's enough. That whatever she's feeling doesn't cover half of what we felt and that she needs to get over herself. That I've been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get panicky and went on to deep clean the whole house, especially the kitchen, but anyway, my brother left after he said that there's no leveling with us when we're being this stubborn. Now that I've had time to get out of the state I was in, I do feel bad that she's distressed and feels unwelcome in our family. That was never my goal. I've been debating sending her an apology. Not for my actions because I stand by them but for the way I went about it. I shouldn't have allowed the stuff in our house in the first place and could have been calmer about it after I opened the fridge. Update. A lot of people asked me to update, so here it is. Warning. This is a long one and if I wasn't an before, I sure am now. So after my mom berated Laura and my brother yelled at my husband and I took the advice I was given and sent them a long text which ended up being a bit of a ramble about everything. How fucked the situation is. How we're disgusted by their stance and how we'll be going LC until we feel ready to be around them again. That was the day after my brother packed his bags and left. I was left to read and I thought that was that until a few days ago when I got a call from Laura. I thought about not answering it but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, Laura tried to make awkward small talk but I think she sensed I wasn't in the mood and got right to it. She apologized about her behavior, said she had no excuse other than her hormones and we ended up having a long chat about everything. By the end of it, I actually felt better and like we could get past it and work on our relationship. She also mentioned that she would still like for my family and I to come to her birthday dinner. It wasn't going to happen in a restaurant anymore. I guess the hotel stay ended up costing them a lot, as some of you predicted, and that it was going to be at their house instead. I told her that I'll talk with my husband and get back to her. I also got a text from my brother apologizing and saying he was just trying to protect and stand by his wife. It was too soon to start mending things, as my husband pointed out, but he left the choice up to me, and I honestly believed her apology because she had never acted like that before and she seemed actually ashamed of herself. Anyway, my sister, who was also apologized to BC, she also tore her a new one. And parents, also got an apology. We're also invited, but my sister's kids wanted a cousin sleepover instead of going with us, so after talking it over with my sister, we agreed for them to have one at my house. My babysitters for a year are my next door neighbors. They're sweet and responsible 16-year-old twins who live with their single mom. They usually team up and tackle my kids on date nights. There's a reason I'm mentioning this. With my sisters added 2 kids to the mix, I asked their mom if she was free to join their duo and she agreed. So I called Laura and told her that Richard and I are coming. When we got to their house, Laura greeted my husband and I at the door. We handed her the gift and went in, but she seemed puzzled that we didn't have a trail of kids with us, so I reminded her that it's just us adults tonight. Same thing happened when my sister and her husband walked in. Dinner was awkward. No matter how we tried to lighten up the mood, and the conversation was stilted at best, but I thought it was at least a step forward. Laura asked this time about why the kids were not with us, that she had made special food for them. I never mentioned the kids when I got back to her, just my husband and I, but I felt like it was my fault that I didn't clarify, and so I apologized for it and thanked her for thinking of them. My sister chimed in that her kids and mine were having a cousin's sleepover tonight and how she was excited about our soon-to-be nephew to join them when he's here and older. Laura looked at her with a smile and said, "Yeah, I'm sure he'll be best friends with his cousins, as in my kids, and his step-cousins, as in my sisters." This pissed me off because we don't step anything with the kids, but I bit my tongue. For context, my sister is technically my stepsister. I know I use stepdad in my first post. I usually call him by his first name. I consider him a parental figure since he raised me since I was 10, but I had a dad and the title will always be his. My sister gave her a hurt look, but it was my brother who nudged his wife with a, "What are you doing?" look. A few minutes went by again with eating and light convo before Laura asked again about our kids, mainly who was watching them since all 4 parents are here. I told her that my neighbor and her daughters are babysitting, to which she laughed at and joked about how incompetent the girls and their mom must be to need all 3 of them to wrangle the kids. Also, for context, I have 4 kids. I'm biased and like to think they're well behaved, but they're sometimes too much for one person to handle. Even me, and I'm the one that brought them into this world. Add my sister's 2 kids and it's a lot for 2 teenage girls to handle, even for just a few hours. We left at 7, it said we'll be back at 11. It has absolutely nothing to do with the girls whom my kids adore or their mom, who is as kind as they come. Before I could retort anything, my mom stepped in with one of her smiles and told Laura that it's so kind of her to offer her own competence and watch the kids next time. That shut her up real fast. After that, dinner was even more awkward until we cleared the table and Laura brought out dessert while my brother got the cake from the fridge. Here's where I lost the last of my remaining brain cells. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, I saw my husband carrying my bag and trying to usher me out of the front door to leave. He looked pissed and I was beyond confused, and obviously resisted because yes, the dinner is a train wreck, but let me at least say goodbye and give a lame excuse for our departure. When my husband tried to literally carry me out, I knew something was wrong, and after a couple of tries, I darted past him back to the dining room. Laura's now ready dessert table consisted of PB cake pops, PB pie, PB cookies, PB brownies, and top it all off, a PB birthday cake that my brother brought in and was sniffing at with a horrified look. Laura then gave me a big smile and said loudly to my family, "I thought I should at least get to have my cravings on my birthday. Get your fill before she throws these out too." I honestly thought for a second that my sister was going to tackle her, and I wasn't that far behind her because all I could think about was the fact that she thought my kids were coming and she planned this accordingly. I felt so guilty for allowing the stuff in our house the last time, and if my sister's kids hadn't wanted the sleepover, I was going to walk my son into danger a second time. I lost my shit. Without thinking about my actions, I grabbed Laura's head, forced her to talk towards my brother, who I think was too shocked to react, and slammed her head straight into the cake. I held it down as long as I could while she flailed and told her I hope she chokes on her cravings before I let her go. I honestly wanted to go for the pie too, but I had embarrassed myself enough by acting like that in the first place, so I told my brother that I'm done with both him and his wife, and if they try to contact me or my family again, I'm filing for a protective order. Then I let my husband lead me out. My sister was cackling as she followed us with her husband, but our parents stayed back. I heard Laura screaming profanities after us, but my stepdad raised his voice, which shut her up. I got a lot of jokes about his frown on my first post, but the man is as stoic as they come. Him showing any emotion is a big deal. I remember that his frown alone growing up was enough to literally stop my sister and I in our tracks, because we knew if he gave us one that we messed up. I haven't asked my mom what happened after we left because I can't handle any more heartache from my brother or his actions. I don't think this was the update anyone wanted, least of all me, but I'm completely done with both of them. Even though my brother looked like he had no idea, the stuff was in his house, happening under his damn roof. I'm sad I won't be in my nephew's life and my kids won't get to know the new cousin they've been waiting for, but I'd rather cry over that than over my son's life. I don't expect anyone to be kind in the comments. I'm 32. I shouldn't have been so naive, and I know I shouldn't have reacted like that, and I'm going to be dealing with that with my therapist along with the guilt I'm feeling, but please take it easy on me. I'm still shaken up. I'm also looking into family therapy for my kids so they can better process not having their uncle and aunt around after them having been a close presence in their lives. Aita, mom said my sister should have married my husband, and now she's been coming over when I'm gone, walking around in towels. What should I do? Everyone around me thinks I'm overreacting, but I'm unhappy with my mother and my sister about something she said. Please be brutally honest and let me know if I'm acting insecurely or if my spouse and mother are mistaken. I'll give you a little background. Growing up, my husband James, 34M, and I, 29F, lived next door. My spouse and my sister, Fran, 34F, were in the same grade. Because my sister was so intelligent and attractive, everyone knew her at school. We all knew that James had a major crush on her. Fran scolded him in front of the entire school when he asked her out to senior prom. Although he relocated to a different state for college, they stayed buddies, and we only heard from him on the holidays. Growing up, James and I were never buddies because I was in middle school at the time of all of this. They would purposefully shun me or include me in their activities and hangouts, even though I was significantly younger than they were. I got my first job in the same city as James after attending a reputable institution. Since I didn't know anyone there, my mother advised me to get in touch with him. After becoming friends, we were married 3 years later. We both love our lives and have well-paying careers. Because James's mother was ill and our professions permitted us to work from home during COVID, we returned to our hometown. Fran had a decent life too. Her husband was wealthy, and she married him when she was 23. Fran found out 2 years ago that he had cheated on her with several different people during their marriage. She made the decision to end the relationship. Fran and my mother moved back. She was expecting hefty alimony and hadn't worked since her marriage. However, she hardly received anything and is having financial difficulties as a result of issues with a prenuptial agreement. She found a job, but she still lives with my mom because she can hardly afford a place of her own. She received a lot of support from James and me throughout this process. James and Fran have a unique affinity because they were childhood friends. When we all get together, I occasionally feel like the third wheel since they have their own inner jokes and stories. James, on the other hand, avoids her and has never given me any indication that he still harbors affections for her. However, Fran comes to see us 2 or 3 times a week, frequently stays for supper, and sleeps in our guest room. Although I don't like her visiting, I don't enjoy that she chats to James more than I do. When I'm not home, she always comes over, and when I return, I frequently find them watching TV together on the sofa. It takes me back to my early years, when I was barred from our basement when Fran was around. Additionally, Fran seems too at ease in James's presence. She sleeps in her underwear in the guest room without locking the door, or she leaves the shower and goes about the house in nothing but a towel. I've told her about my worries, but she says it doesn't matter because we're family. James and I have also spoken. Now, whenever Fran mentions stories or inside jokes, he tries to explain them. This past weekend was the primary problem. Fran told me stories about how James used to handle her chores and homework when she was a child while we were hanging out with my mom. He loved me so much, and I felt bad for taking advantage of him, she added. I wish you had the intelligence to marry James instead of your loser husband. My mother jokes. You would not be in this predicament. Fran nodded and grinned, but I felt offended. I informed my mother that James was my spouse, and I didn't like the remarks. My mother reiterated that she felt this way because Fran is having financial difficulties, whereas James and I both earn a lot of money. It's just hypothetical, she continued. I wish for the happiness of both of my girls. Fran added that I was being very sensitive and advised me not to take it personally. After arguing with them both, I walked away. James said it was a harmless joke and agreed with my mom and Fran when I told him about it. He said it was between my sister and I when I brought up the subject of Fran's actions at our residence. He refuses to let Fran know what she is or is not allowed to wear in our house. Everyone has apologized, but I still feel uneasy. Am I mistaken for my reaction, or is everyone else right and I should feel more confident about my connection with James? Comments to which the OP responded, NTA is the commenter. The remark made by your mother was unsuitable and disrespectful to your marriage. The fact that your husband is downplaying your emotions regarding Fran's actions is alarming. It's about seeking respect in your relationship and at home, not about being insecure. OP, I've seen this pattern all my life. Fran has always treated me like a child because we are so different in age. I was simply offended that my mother made such remarks while utterly ignoring how I felt. But because of all the attention Fran received, I've always been envious of her. In our family, I was the odd nerdy little girl. Commenter, in 3 to 6 months I'm waiting for Fran to do something with your spouse. You should also tell her to stop having sleepovers and unexpected visits. Put on some clothing for heaven's sake. Establish a clear line here and don't worry if people believe you're going overboard. OP, I'm somewhat concerned about all of these remarks. I will discuss this with my hubby. I don't want to come out as accusatory, but I was so uneasy about this whole thing that I didn't get much sleep last night. Even though I have complete faith in him, I'm reconsidering what Fran has done to him and how she has consistently minimized my emotions. Last night, I received a hesitant apology from my mother. She said that I'm overreacting and that she blurted out something foolish. I only want the best for both of my daughters, she says. Revised on October 22, 2024. I appreciate everyone's support of my earlier post. In summary, my mother said something offensive, wishing that my sister Fran had wed my husband James. My spouse attempted to minimize my emotions by claiming that I was overreacting to a harmless joke, but I was very unhappy. I apologize for the lengthy message, but a lot of you have been contacting me to ask for an update, so here it is. I became somewhat paranoid after reading the remarks. My anxiousness skyrocketed when I began to wonder if James married me because of his previous crush on Fran. I began to pry about. I knew there was nothing to conceal on his phone because my husband allows me to check it for new texts when he's not around. The fact that Fran always appears to know when I'm not home and that James and Fran are always seated on the same couch when I return, however, alarmed me. When I spoke with James, he acknowledged the validity of my feelings. He would not, however, criticize my mom or Fran, stating that Fran is going through a difficult period. I spent last Friday evening in the gym as usual. James was preparing dinner when I arrived home, and Fran was seated in the living room. I asked her why she was there because I was irritated. She said she came to hang out and had no intentions. I asked if she might come back at a later time, explaining that I wanted a peaceful weekend with my husband. She began defending my mom's remark as a joke I should stop making after realizing I was offended. We got into a fight after I told her I didn't think it was humorous. You're always such an insecure, annoying kid, she continued. It makes sense why no one liked you. Although it was really painful, James intervened and told Fran to go. He's never been so aggressive with her, in my experience. Fran murmured something disagreeable and walked away. I started crying by the end. James comforted me, but I was so distraught that I stayed in our room by myself the night. I jotted down a list of topics I wanted to talk about with James the following morning. I was able to better arrange my thoughts thanks to your remarks. After reading the comments, I began to wonder if James married me because I looked like Fran's sister or because he felt insecure about me. I talked to James about my fears and worries during a lengthy conversation we had in high school. I described how I feel when he spends so much time with Fran when she comes to visit and how they laugh about it together. I questioned him about his affections for her. He remained composed and grinned throughout. He promised to be truthful, but he urged me not to hold it against him afterwards. He said that he knew Fran had taken advantage of him during their time together at school as she was aware of his feelings for her. Fran tried to stay in touch with him when he went to college, but the distance helped him understand how badly she treated him. In order to concentrate on himself, he made the decision to sever his relationship with her. James clarified that this was the reason he stopped being friends with Fran and hardly ever visited during the holidays. When we were kids, he disregarded me and picked Fran over me, which I informed him bothered me. I often questioned whether I was his second choice because of this. He reminded me that when he started college, I was just 13. He jokingly said, "We'd be dealing with a completely different issue if I had liked you instead of Fran at that age." He said that he wasn't very excited to meet me when I originally contacted him because he believed I would be like Fran. But after spending some time with me, he saw that I was quite different from her. We quickly grew close, began dating, and eventually tied the knot. By the time Fran married, James saw that I frequently admired her and was jealous when she shared photos of her trips or showed off pricey presents from her husband. James claimed that because I seemed to perceive Fran as a North Star, he never explicitly informed me that he didn't enjoy hanging out with her. He told me that he had never been close to Fran and that, because they only saw each other a few times a year, he didn't mind her. But he wasn't sure how to behave following her divorce. He acknowledged that he was appreciative when I moved our family back to support his mother's health and that he wished to do the same for my family during Fran's divorce. Even though it meant going over high school things he would rather forget, he stood by Fran for me. I informed him that I found it bothersome that Fran would frequently drop by when I was at the gym in the evenings. He said that he thought it strange that she frequently paid me visits while I wasn't home and appeared to be familiar with my workout regimen. But he assured me that he would have informed me right away if Fran had ever done something troubling. He clarified that Fran simply likes to gossip about their high school pals and watch classic films and TV series that they grew familiar with. James advised me to have faith in him. Additionally, he volunteered to cut back on Fran's visits if that would help me feel more at ease, but he cautioned that I might end up getting back together with Fran in the future and didn't want him to appear like the bad guy. James, however, was adamant that he would not dictate to Fran what she should wear in the house because that would seem improper coming from him. Our chat gave me comfort. James has always been a fantastic husband, and I will always have faith in his dedication. My mother and Fran came to visit on Sunday. My mother expressed her heartfelt regret, claiming she never intended to offend me. She said that her remark about Fran and James wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Rather, she was merely expressing her hope that Fran might eventually meet someone as wonderful as James. Despite her initial harsh attitude, Fran also expressed regret for Friday's name-calling. She attributed her outburst to her hormones and explained that she frequently visited because she loved to spend time with her sister and closest friend. Fran is welcome to come at any time, but she should phone in advance to see if James and I have any plans. She concurred. I'm prepared to let this go, but since I know it annoys James as well, I want to set clear guidelines for when Fran can come and spend time with him alone. Now, everything is going well. Although I'm glad my darkest concerns didn't materialize, I acknowledge that I may require therapy to address my insecurities. I just found out that my wife has been cheating on me with multiple partners for the past 2 years. Original post, August 3, 2024. I'm in shock and I really need some advice right now. Me, 40M, and my wife, 37F, have been married for 10 years, and we recently celebrated our anniversary. We have 2 wonderful kids together. Since the beginning of the year, things have been off between us. She's been acting strangely since the beginning of the year, irritable, avoiding me, and we haven't been intimate much. Some days she's happy, some others fully irritated. Sometimes she's a great mother to our kids. Some other times she wishes they had never been born. Recently, I had to go to the urologist for a urinary tract infection, and the test suggested it might be an STD. This was a huge shock because I've never been with anyone other than my wife since we started dating. Right now, she's away at a so-called business seminar, of which I talked about in a different post. She has been keeping diaries for over a decade, and out of desperation, I read them for the first time ever. It turns out she's been having multiple sexual partners for the past 2 years. In particular, there was one affair that lasted over a year, and it seems part of her irritability was due to her lover moving on to someone else. I also discovered she has a hidden Tinder account too and has been meeting with other men regularly. I am devastated beyond words. I feel lost and unsure of what to do, especially since we have 2 little kids who mean the world to me. I need some advice on how to handle this situation. Should I confront her immediately? Should I consult a lawyer first? How do I even begin to process this betrayal and protect my kids through all of this? Thank you for any guidance you can offer in this incredibly difficult time. Additional information from OOP. Thank you for all the comments. As everyone's suggesting, I'll try to consult discreetly with a lawyer ASAP, gather as much evidence as I can, get the STD treated, and as painful as it is, perform paternity tests on my kids. To be honest, I'm a complete mess right now and cannot think properly. All kinds of thoughts are crossing my mind. Part of me still loves her and wants to forgive her, the other is just full of disgust and hatred, and wishes I've never even met her at all. I wish I could just disappear right now. Comments. Commenter 1. Copies of evidence to lawyer. Go full NC, server. Don't drink, work out. Good luck. Commenter 2. Get proof, get a lawyer, do what the lawyer says. Commenter 3. Assuming an open marriage has no appeal to you, take a deep breath and start lifting weights and eating right. These will help you process the emotions in a healthy way instead of drowning in the bottle. Don't say anything to her. Document all evidence. Talk a lawyer first before making any moves. It's probably been happening your entire marriage. Get paternity tests on your kids. Suggest 23andMe as something fun. Plan your next move and execute on it like a divine masculine. Treat the divorce and custody battle like a business negotiation. Keep emotions low. Remember, this is going to be extremely traumatizing to your children. Keep their mental health at the forefront always. Do not talk badly about your wife. If she tries to destroy your relationship with them or lay the blame at your feet, just stay calm. Tell them you love them and this is between her and you, but you both love them very much and it's nothing they did. Don't tell them about your wife's indiscretions until they're old enough to handle it, if ever. Update: September 11th, 2024, 1 month later. Thank you all for your invaluable advice and support. It has been a tremendous help during this difficult time. After my last post, my in-laws kindly offered to look after the kids while my wife was away at her seminar. They remain unaware of the turmoil I've been experiencing. I used this time to go through her diaries and take pictures of their contents. Each entry felt like a stab in the back, leaving me in a state of shock and disbelief. I just don't recognize anymore the person I thought I knew and loved for over a decade. To avoid going into too much detail, the revelations in the diaries would make any movie or TV series I've ever seen pale in comparison. She has been involved with at least 6 different men over the past 2 years. These affairs occurred not only during her so-called seminars but also during short business trips, dinners and other supposed work-related events. Meanwhile, I was at home, taking care of the kids and naively believing I was supporting her career. Some entries vividly describe how great these encounters were for her, all while expressing gratitude towards me for being a devoted husband and father, without a single trace of remorse. This lack of guilt and the extent of her deception make me question her emotional and mental state. While reading through the diaries, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair and was seriously contemplating suicide. In the end, I sought refuge with friends for a few days, as I felt I couldn't be alone, otherwise I'd do something that could never be taken back. They really supported me a lot during this time and helped me get in contact with a therapist. I'm now taking regular therapy sessions once per week. They also help me in getting in touch with lawyers specializing in divorce. I'm also getting treatment for my STD as well. Returning home after picking up the kids from my in-laws was an emotionally devastating experience. I couldn't bring myself to smile at all. At some point, while contemplating all the possible ways I could end my life, my daughter just looked at me and saw my face. Without saying a word, she just came over and wrapped her arms around me. At that moment I broke down, held her tightly and burst into tears in front of her. She's my sweet angel, and the shame of having considered leaving my kids to suffer under their mother's disdain was almost too much to bear. For the first few weeks after finding out, I could barely sleep at all and had to depend on sleeping pills just to get through the nights. My motivation was at an all-time low, affecting both my home life and my work. I forced myself to continue exercising, and found out it was the only thing that actually made me feel better during this time. To whoever said in the previous post that I shouldn't give up on doing exercise, thank you, you may have just saved my life. The stress intensified after my wife returned from her trip. Initially, it took all my energy to hide my disgust at her and the knowledge I had gained about her actions. I've somewhat got used to this now, but it remains emotionally draining. She did notice that something was off, but still appears to believe that I am entirely unaware of what has transpired. Her lack of shame is staggering. Just recently, she asked me to buy her the expensive gift I promised her for our 10-year anniversary, for which I made an excuse to not buy yet, despite her going into another business trip just the day after our anniversary, which was described in extremely painful detail in her diaries. To make matters worse, she was even arranging to meet her latest partner on the day of my birthday. Nowadays I've started to feel a lot better, thanks to exercise and therapy. I had never been to a therapist before in my life, and to be honest, I am regretting not having done it sooner. Despite my wife betraying me in the worst possible way, part of me still thought that maybe all of this was my fault. Maybe if I had done this. If I had put more effort into that. I blamed myself for a lot of things. My therapist helped me see through it that, while I could have done some things differently, in the end, I cannot be held responsible for the actions she chose to take, and no one deserves to be betrayed in the way I was. If I'm at fault for anything, it's for blaming myself for everything, always putting her needs ahead of my own, and trusting her unconditionally without question. While it was extremely hard for me to balance work and looking after the kids alone every time she went on any of these trips, I always let her go after convincing myself that I was doing it for her, to support her business, to let her relieve stress from being at home. That this is what a supportive husband would do. And that if maybe I had a better job or made her happier, she wouldn't feel the need to escape from home. I'd be lying if I said I'm not depressed anymore, but I'm certainly doing much better these days. Nowadays, I feel more rage rather than sadness, and it is the rage that's keeping me going. My therapist advised me to channel this rage into the things I do, which has worked surprisingly well. I talked with 2 law firms about my situation, and was advised to collect more evidence, which I've been devoting myself to for the past few weeks. I've finished digitizing all of her diaries from the past 2 years, which were quite a lot. I got access to her computer and found just way too many photos, chat conversations and documents to help my case. She's been posting all of her adventures into a very distorted private group in Facebook, to which I've also taken plenty of screenshots of. I've compiled a list of all of her sexual partners in the diaries, and have been identifying them one by one on social media, etc. I've gathered everything I could on her current sexual partners, and managed to figure out where they live and/or work. Now I'm debating whether I should confront them or not. The things I've read in these diaries are so bizarre that I thought maybe she was just writing material for some sort of twisted novel, that is, until I found all the other stuff in her computer, etc. Maybe I'm broken myself as well, but a part of me is actually enjoying this process of gathering all these tiny pieces of evidence and information, cross-referencing them with her diaries and finding everything I can about her and her lovers. Part of me wants to see her burn on social media by posting directly everything I've found out, since a big part of her business is centered around social media, but I'm refraining myself from doing so since this would also affect both me and the kids, as well as her parents, who have been nothing but kind to me since we got married. I'm also not sure if I should bring this to light to her parents as well, since this will probably devastate them. I'm planning on confronting her after talking further with the lawyers about how to make sure to gain custody of my kids. The country I live in has a rather unfair tendency of granting custody to the mother, even if she's unfit for it. Setting the terms of the divorce and child support. In any case, thank you all for the advice. A few weeks ago I was in full despair and had no idea what to do nor how to approach the situation. Nowadays, I feel that little by little I'm digging myself out of this hole I've been thrown into. Sorry if I don't respond to all your comments. Right now my full attention is devoted to protecting my kids. Commenter 1. Well, let's hope you talk to your lawyer again soon. I'm not sure why you need more evidence, but you have plenty now. Have her serve in public. Heck, even at a seminar she is supposedly at. Commenter 2. Don't confront. Don't let her know a damn thing until you have all of your ducks in a row. Don't post anything on social media. Don't confront any of her lovers. Just keep doing what you're doing. Let her find out when she's served. Commenter 3. What an absolute piece of shit your wife is. Document and keep gathering information to do everything you can to get full custody of your children. Do it for them. They'll grow up and come to understand that their mother is a mentally ill whore that destroyed their family. Keep going to therapy and see a psychiatrist and get on medication if they deem it needed. You need to keep your nerve and a level head as you go through this. Meanwhile, look up Grey Rock and 180. My elderly mom's new friend gives me a bad vibe, prompting me to uncover hidden motives and protect her from potential financial harm. Original post. I cannot for the life of me figure out why I feel like this, but all of my spidey senses are tingling on this woman. Here's a bit of the background. My 40F elderly mom, 70F, has been ill for quite some time and is on hospice. She was living in an independent living place where it was all elderly people in apartment-type units. She has been living there for about 6 or 7 months and made a few casual old people friends but mostly kept to herself, so I thought. A couple weeks ago my boys and I were visiting my mom, we live right down the street and visit often, when a woman walked up to us with my mom. I extended my hand to introduce myself to this woman when she dismissed the handshake and instead went in for a hug and said, "Oh, I only do hugs for family and we're pretty much family." Okay, a little weird coming from someone I've never met before, and also never even heard a single mention of her, but I pretty much brush it off thinking to myself that she's probably just really lonely or something. I asked my mom about this new friend and she just says that they met there at the old people place and she's been a really good friend to her. Great, I love when my mom has friends, it's important to have friends. But this woman just keeps giving me weird vibes and I can't pinpoint why. A few things that seem odd to me. My mom is moving to a more traditional apartment complex this weekend and this new friend liked the new apartment complex so much that she decided to move to the same place as well. Her apartment isn't ready yet but she'll be moving to the same complex as my mom next month. She apparently bought my mom's dog a "I have the world's best auntie" sweatshirt for Christmas. They had known each other for maybe 2 months at that point. She called the other day too, I don't really know why. I guess she gave me her phone number and more formally introduced herself to me. She talked about doing a lot of caretaking stuff for my mom. "Oh, I can manage her medications for her if you want." So I replied that while I appreciate the offer, there's a lot of controlled medications and hospice prefers to keep minimal people involved in the medicine stuff, and that taking on caretaking responsibilities for a friend can get exhausting, so it might be best for them to just focus on being friends rather than her wearing herself out trying to take care of her. She immediately went to my mom and made it sound like I was shit-talking my own mom, saying how she's just an exhausting person, blah blah. When I confronted my new friend about going to my mom and relaying our private conversation in a totally twisted way, the friend lied and said that my mom had grabbed her phone and read it all in the text messages. It was over the phone and not at all via text messages. When I pointed out there were no texts, she just kind of stumbled and I dropped it because I knew it wouldn't get anywhere. Every time I talk to my mom on the phone, I can hear this woman telling her what to say or adding comments in. And none of it is outwardly worrisome things, but it feels like I can't have any conversation with just my mom. I'm a very trusting person who generally tries to see the best in people. And this woman has not given me any concrete reasons to doubt her intentions and has in fact been very friendly and polite to me in all of our interactions. Nonetheless, I can't shake this feeling that there's something wrong here. I sat my mom down yesterday and had a conversation with her about my feelings towards this new friend, and she didn't get defensive at all but disagreed with me and said that her new friend is just being kind and offering to help with stuff because she knows my mom is not the most organized of people and could use the help. I begged my mom to please be cautious and to take the friendship slow and to keep it simply as a friendship and let me, her actual family, handle caretaking stuff. Despite no changes in medications, my mom has been more confused lately and comes across to me like she's overtaken medication, but I only give her 1 dose at a time and the rest is locked up at all times, so it isn't that. But just to be safe, since she's been more confused lately, I took my mom's credit and debit cards so no one can take advantage of her financially. Reddit, please help me figure out what this woman would have to gain in coming between my mom and I if it isn't medication or money. I don't know how to do a background search or if that's legal for any random person to do. But I did look this new friend up on a couple websites and all I learned from that is that she has a lot of also known as names, but I can't find anything else. I'll pay for a background search if anyone has a recommendation for good ones. We're in California. Does any of this raise any red flags to anyone else, or am I just being too overprotective of my mom on this? Oh, I almost forgot. I called one of my mom's oldest and closest friends the other day and asked her if she's met his new friend and if so, what her impression was. She said, "Honestly, I don't know why I feel like this, but I just get a bad feeling about her. I just feel like she's up to no good." Hearing this made me feel better in that I'm not the only one to pick up on something, but I don't know what, if anything, to do about it all. Update. Thank you so much for all of the responses and heartfelt advice. I'm so sorry to have been MIA for so long after I originally posted, but it's just been a lot. I needed to take a beat to take it all in and deal with the punches from real life that kept coming my way. Immediately after I posted last, I went to talk with my mom. I explained my concerns and she agreed to the 2 cameras I put up in her apartment. On moving day, I was out of the apartment for a few minutes taking my kids back to my house when I logged onto the camera app to test out the settings. I overheard my mom and the friend talking about me. It was not very nice and very much seemed like the friend was just teeing things up to come between my mom and I. My mom was playing right into it. The friend, I'll just call her Fran to make it easier, was gone when I got back to the apartment, but I got into it with my mom. I was crying, telling her how hurtful it is to hear my own mother participating in a negative conversation about me after everything I do and have done for her. She cried, I cried. It was awful. But at the end I had at least convinced her that Fran was up to no good. Mom agreed to create some distance between her and Fran, and she immediately told Fran that her behavior towards me was not going to fly any longer and all talk of anything to do with me was off limits. Fran seemed to understand and blamed her behavior towards me on some flimsy excuse that I didn't buy for a second. All was calm for a week or so when one morning I called my mom to check in on her, only to find out she was with Fran out running errands. When I pushed for more information, I uncovered that Fran had taken my mom to the bank so that my mom could obtain a new debit card. Fran very much knew I had taken my mom's debit card, with my mom's blessing, because my mom was having episodes of increased confusion and wasn't aware of who or what she was spending money on, because my mom had forgotten she had given me her previous debit card. That was the final straw for me. That night I sent Fran the following text message. Hi Fran. Mom told me about you guys going to the bank today to get a card, and I just wanted to let you know that I know my mom appreciates your friendship, but that I do not appreciate your getting yourself involved in things you have no business being involved in. Mom and I have her finances under control between the two of us, and we do not need any assistance getting her squared away, no matter how well-meaning. She's asked me to take her card again, the new one, and has put me as the main account holder so I can be sure she has access to what she needs but that no one else does. I want to believe you're coming from a sincere place of just wanting to help my mom, but it complicates friendships greatly when you get into financial territory. I handle all of my mom's finances and medical stuff, and it's working for us that way. My mom very much appreciates having you as her friend, but she doesn't need a caretaker. I've got that covered. If you sincerely want to be her friend, you need to take 10 giant steps back and check yourself regarding how you're coming across to me. Because from my perspective it very much looks like you are dancing precariously close to the elder abuse line, and I'm sure you wouldn't want me to get the authorities involved here, but that's exactly what will happen if things continue down this path. Fran responded with some BS reply akin to, "Oh my word, I would never take advantage of anyone and I just wanted to help your mom blah blah blah. Oh, and I think you and I have gotten off on the wrong foot, daughter, which is my fault, but I'd like to start over again, more blah blah blah." I never replied to Fran further, and she has, shockingly, not really reached out to my mom since. I believe she is due to move into the apartment complex this weekend though, so we shall see if she pops back up out of the woodwork. I think she understands that I see through her attempts to come between my mom and I, and that she'll need to focus her efforts to scam people somewhere else. I notified my mom's hospice nurses and her social worker as well. I also bought a really super cool medication dispenser. I won't name it because I'm not plugging anything, but feel free to reach out to me if anyone has family members that they need some help managing medications for. It's expensive and probably cost prohibitive for a lot of folks, but it has been a game changer for me to keep my mom's medicine safe and organized. That is locked and syncs up to an app, so I get notified every time it dispenses a medication. That made me feel much better about Fran not having any access whatsoever to my mom's prescriptions, but the trip to the bank showed me exactly what Fran was after. I notified the bank that if Fran is with my mom, they are to contact me immediately. All in all, I think most of you were correct. Fran was using my mom for money. Or she was trying to, but luckily I caught it before much damage was done. I think I've made my position on Fran clear to her, which is why she is staying away. I think I still need to contact the independent living facility about my concerns with Fran, because, I swear I'm not making this is, my mom says that Fran is going to be working at the independent living facility after she moves out. And I don't want her to be in a position to take advantage of anyone else. Thank you again to everyone who replied and reached out to me with resources and/or advice. I read every reply, and I actually read a number of them to my mom as well. It really helped her to see Fran for who she really is. New update second, hopefully final. Update September 30th, 2024. Thank you to those who keep checking in with me asking how my mom is doing and if there's any updates. Original post here first, update post here. My mom is still on hospice and doing okay all things considered. She has her good and her bad days, but she has been mostly lucid lately and I'm grateful for that. F has been mostly MIA, thank goodness, ever since I told her, in no uncertain terms, to beat it. The only time I have heard from her since was when my mom's phone wasn't working and F called me and left a message wanting to know if my mom was okay. I left her to read. So that told me that my mom hasn't cut her out completely, although she tells me she has. But I have, with my mom's blessing, taken control of any avenue F could possibly use to take advantage of my mother. I alerted the hospice nurses and social worker, and I let F know that I had done that as well. My mom also finally made some better friends who live nearby, and they also helped keep an eye on her for me. I did not go to the police as I didn't feel I had a case to do so, but I did let F know I wouldn't hesitate to do so if given a reason. If F comes back around my mom or gives me any reason to think something is up, I'll update you all to let you know. But as of now, my mom is safe. I handle all her medication as well as her finances, so no one can weasel their way in to try to take anything at all away from my mom. Thank you to everyone for your care and concern. Relevant comments. Comment: they want her pills. OP. I thought the same thing, which is why I locked them up tight. My mom agreed to a camera right over her dispenser so we can keep eyes on her medications at all times. The machine I got her is pretty cool too and alerts me via text if the machine door is ever opened. Not that it could be, because it has a passcode on it that even my mom doesn't know. So there's lots of safeguards in place to ensure no one gets into any of her stuff at all.